Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And if you don't know, we go live every single Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're trying to get your questions or comments on a live show, you got to use hashtag Raiders, or you can skip the line and Super Chat. And speaking of Super Chat, every $5 Super Chat that we get on today's show, you're going to be entered in for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat, courtesy of Josh I, the MVP of our last Friday show. Shout out to him for hitting the gong. But also, every 100 likes for the people that are tuned in and watching today's show, every 100 likes, we're going to give away a free entry into that raffle. So if you want a chance to win a Raiders draft hat, $5 Super Chat, ask a question is what I would end up doing. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about on today's live show is I want to get into some of the Raiders news that I would want the nation to know. Also, a lot of NFL rumors that are being circulating out there that could impact the Raiders from a draft standpoint, from a trading standpoint, and there's a lot to get into. So one of the talking points on this show is around the draft and how many quarterbacks could potentially go in round one. My question to the nation out there, to the 400 people that are already here rock with me, appreciate you, from Martin. He says, Martin, nice shirt, Mitch. Actually, Martin, a company from the UK, they are called Talk Sport. They have over like 1 million subs on YouTube. They hit me up this literally like today, and they asked me to join one of their shows next week or in 2 weeks, but they're from the UK. I instantly thought of you. But I want to know down below, we're going to give some shout-outs here on today's show. Who? They're like, do you know who Martin is? And I was like, yes, I do. How many quarterbacks do y'all think end up going in round one? The reason why that I'm asking this question is because if you would have asked me this 48 hours ago, I probably would have said 2, maybe 3. Now my answer is 3, maybe 4.
Wow.
And you're going to see why one of those quarterbacks that we didn't think maybe goes in round one could end up sneaking in round one. What do you think about this? How many quarterbacks are you going with?
I'm in the same boat as you, of where it was like fluctuating between 1 and 2. Now I'm thinking between 3 and 4. Now, at the very beginning of the draft process, I gave you a hot take. Do you remember that hot take? It was my very first hot take of the draft.
I do remember you giving me a quarterback hot take.
That Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart both go in round 1.
Well, just saying, one of those names could end up going in round 1. Hell, maybe even both. We'll tell you what that story is if you haven't already heard about it. I see Nick, he's going to go with a 3. Steven Schnacken says 3 as well. Riley Brown says, who cares? I care. That's why I'm asking the question. I see Isaiah Pacheco says Ward, Sanders, and Dart. Our dog's going to go 3. Sam says 4. What up, Nab Man? He's going to go with a 3 as well. Ed Robbins is going with a 4. And shout out to Josh I. He's in the building today. He's going to go with a 3. G Money says 3. Big Luck's going to go 2. Big Luck, I hear you, but here's the thing, dude. I would say that 3, if I was the person to set it at more or less, I would go 3.5. And it's only because of what the latest rumors are right now around the NFL. And I'm telling you this, it's really going to impact the Raiders because I think that all of us anticipate the Silver and Black to take a quarterback in this year's draft with one of the 9 picks that we have. But I can make an argument that it could happen in round 1. I can make an entire show why it could happen on day 2. I can do an entire show on why I think it could happen on day 3. And because it's quarterbacks, when quarterbacks start to slide or when quarterbacks go early, everything else just turns to shit. Trades happen, it just turns into chaos. And I think last year's draft kind of got a little bit chaotic after the Michael Penix Jr. pick at number 8. And I don't know if you all remember who were actually tuned in watching live with us. I got a text message that said, this shit's about to get wild, and then that shit ended up getting pretty wild.
Raider Prime says 5. I want to know, who is the 5th quarterback if you think 5 are going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. 5 would be interesting. Tyler Shuck maybe slides up into that discussion. That would be a little bit high to me.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, I agree, though. There's one person who I know would love it. We got 500 people here tuned into the Raiders Report. I also see Rebel. We'll get to your super chat here in just a moment.
I will say, it would be a surprise if 5 quarterbacks go in round 1. It would not be a surprise if you got a great deal with our sponsor over at GameTime, the official ticketing partner of the Raiders Report and Chat Sports. we decided to make it Facebook official, Mitch.
It's a really big deal from my days that I remember when that actually mattered. When you made something Facebook official, you know that was like you're locked in loaded.
Us, Game Time.
I don't know what that noise was. That's the noise I make when I download the GameTime app. And you can make that noise as well because you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ChatSports. That's ChatSports for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's game time. Probably one of my favorite things about GameTime is the GameTime picks. Save up to 60% off by buying tickets last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. GameTime Picks makes last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. I also love the curated deals, the super deal, seat views before you buy, that lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and honestly, one of my other things that I love about GameTime is they also have job loss protection, which pretty damn cool. But when I'm looking at an event, whether it's a Raiders game, whether it's a hockey game, the Las Vegas Knights, I don't know if you can see up there, WWE SmackDown. Chugs has been bothering me for a long time about this one. But the fact that you can see what the best deals are, where exactly you're sitting, if I end up going to SmackDown, I'm going to hit my tickets through GameTime.
Oh, dude.
If I end up going to SmackDown and I don't take you, I'm worried I'm going to have to find a new Chugs.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm out, man. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
Looks like we won't be able to go to WrestleMania, which is okay. But silver lining, we might end up going to another combat sporting event at some point.
Maybe. Shout out to UFC is all I'm going to say. All right, y'all. Seriously, though, promo code ChatSports, $20 off. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments. Down in the description of today's show. Huge shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's episode. Rebel, Chugs must be in pain last night. Houston second half. Here's how that whole game went to me. I felt like every single March Madness game this year was the team that was winning for the majority of the game ended up kind of falling apart at the end. I'll also say, congratulations to Florida. I felt bad for Houston. I really wanted Samson to be able to get a win. But we were talking about it today in the office. If college basketball did best of 7 series, I think Duke beats Houston in 5 games, and I think Duke beats Florida in 6 games. I really do. I think Duke was the best team in the country, and it's a shame that they fell apart the way that they did. Hell, you can make an argument the worst 8 minutes of basketball Duke played the entire year were those final 8 minutes against Houston. But we also got to be able to tip our cap to the tourney in terms of never giving up. And that's the one thing that this tournament proved to me is as soon as you think that you're done, never give up, keep fighting and scrap. Who knows? You might find yourself to be a national champion. One of the other topics that we're going to be talking about here on the Raiders Report is I wanted to look at cornerbacks that the Raiders could draft by round. Originally, when I started doing these types of segments, I wanted to start with the offensive side of the football, and then I wanted to go to the defense. However, with the amount of people that have been asking me what's the Raiders' plan since moving on from Jack Jones, I decided to break down from rounds 1 all the way down to round 7 some corners that I could see Pete Carroll and John Spytek targeting in this year's draft. So my question to you is I need you to look into your crystal balls here. And which round will the Raiders end up drafting a corner? It is also the live poll if you haven't already voted yet. If you think it's going to be on day 1, round 1, click there. Day 2, round 2 or 3, right now, 72% of the votes there. Day 3, round 4 and 5, 16. Day 3, round 6 and 7, only 2%. So according to the nation, Chugs, round 2 or 3, how about this then? Round 2 or round 3, where would you plant your flag? I would say that's also probably the most likely day that the Raiders end up taking a corner at pick 37 or 68.
Yeah.
But if they decide to go Will Johnson, and there's been a lot of rumors over the past 24, 48, 72 hours around the Raiders really being interested in Johnson, and that's going to be something that I talk about today. I
think it's more likely in round 3.
Dude. Oh, man. I knew that at some point I was going to get hit with that. What up, Ed? What do you think about Raiders signing cornerback Hilton?
I had to look it up because I thought Ed was breaking the news to us.
Oh.
Yes, he's talking about Mike Hilton, cornerback, one of the top remaining free agents left.
So Hilton's 31. He's a slot guy, though. He's inside.
I think him, and you'll see a ton of guys now at this point, you probably won't see many free agent signings between now and the NFL draft.
Correct.
And then the week after, 2 weeks after the draft, you'll see a ton of signings.
Yeah, I mean, think about, like, if you're a player like Tyler Lockett. Like, I am still a believer that the Raiders are going to sign a wide receiver like a Lockett, like a Robert Woods, like a Keenan Allen. But their value will go up after the draft because there's going to be teams, think about like the Raiders, for example. What if we're going, we need 2 wide receivers. We only get 1. Well, then that wide receiver value goes up for a lot of those other players. And some of you could be sitting there going, well, if the Raiders draft 2 wide receivers, then their value goes down. Sure, but for all 32 NFL teams, veterans that are going to be in the league, their value goes up after the draft. And honestly, like sometimes those, like some of those vets, they also, like a Hilton, I don't see why he would want to participate in the offseason programs. I mean, at 31, 32 years old, he probably thinks in his mind, I can show up, I can be ready to go, and that's what I'm going to end up doing. Which, if that's your mindset, I don't think that Pete Carroll and John Spytek are going to be interested. You better be ready to go by mandatory minicamp days, which I believe is June 10th.
And it's like you say that, and the one person that comes to mind whenever you say stuff like that of like, oh, veterans and stuff, but he doesn't have that mentality, and I wish one of our teams would have gotten him, Calais Campbell. He re-signed with the Cardinals. He's 38, going to turn 39. And
still playing at a high level.
He's still signed, and he's going to be going to the off-season workouts. He'll probably be there at the non-mandatory, like, voluntary workouts. And he's 39.
But I'm a big believer when you're playing at age 38, and I think it's one of the reasons why you've seen some of these other dudes, and I'm going to say offensive linemen, some of these interior defensive tackles be able to play late into their career because they just keep themselves, and I'm going to call it football shape. I really do believe in today's day and age why you're seeing a lot of these wide receivers in particular, certain skill position guys get injured because they're not practicing May, June, and July, and in August, and then they just expect that they can go out there in September, and there's no doubt that they're athletic, but when you're trying to be in that 1 percentile, which is what every guy in the NFL is doing, you got to be in football shape. Being in really good shape and being in football shape, it's totally different.
Bridget said, I noticed that Gino retweeted your posts.
Yeah, so Gino, holy crap, dude. Sorry, somebody was shining a light over there. It's in the corner of the show. I don't even know. Now I got like a big old ring in my eye. I think it was Sam. I saw a flashlight. Yeah, Gino, he ended up reposting some of my stuff, and all I said yesterday was I wanted to think of a stat because I'm starting to get sick and tired of trying to defend Geno Smith with all these people that clearly aren't watching film. And I'm not going to try to totally change anybody's opinion, but I do really think if you think Geno is you got to watch some tape on him. And at the end of the day, you go out and you make a move for a quarterback to win football games. So, Chugs, can you name, since apparently you haven't seen the tweet, can you name the 6 quarterbacks in the NFL that have won at least 27 games the past 3 seasons?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes is on that list.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is on that list.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson is on that list. Super Bowl.
Oh, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is on that list.
How many you said? 6?
Yep, so there's 2 more.
There's 2 more. Brock Purdy.
Nope.
No, he got hurt.
One of them is the quarterback for the Raiders, Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, okay.
And then the last one, I'll just give it to you, Jared Goff. Geno Smith has won more games than Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua, Dak, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, Jordan Love, and I get it. Some of those quarterbacks have also had injuries, but doesn't that also kind of add to the value of Geno? He's been able to stay healthy with one of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League, and he's never had a losing season with Pete Carroll or hasn't had a losing season the past 3 years, and they've had different OCs, different head coaches, different quarterback coaches. Like, the amount of change that has happened around Geno, and I just wanted to put that out there because, like, if you're someone that's not sold that Geno can help you win, well, that's all he's really done the past 3 seasons, and I said Geno is a winner, and he quote tweeted and said, like, we win as a team, essentially. So I was like, all right, man, I respect it. Like, he wasn't saying he was the only reason why they won, but you win as a football team, which is an obvious statement, but also coming after what he said at his press conference on Monday.
And then what did you say?
I'm starting to love Geno even more. I said, respect? I don't know. I think that's all I did. I shared it on my social media. You guys can check it out, Mitchell Renz 365. Ryan, what up, Ryan?
Ryan Creature feature Hushman.
I don't know what that is. Do you believe that cutting Jones will force us to draft Will Johnson in round 1 or a cornerback out of Kentucky in the 2nd? No, I actually think that the move of Jack Jones has absolutely positively zero impact on what the Raiders draft strategy is. And this kind of goes into, again, of me saying I'm blown away by how many people are surprised the Raiders moved on from Jack Jones. I thought this was about as obvious as a move as what the Raiders were going to do just because of overall fit. I do think that Johnson is a player to keep in mind because of his ties. We'll kind of get into some of that later on today. But in terms of the cornerback out of Kentucky, Maxwell Harrison, I don't really think that that's somebody that the Raiders are going to have on their radar. And I think that there's 3 other cornerbacks that are going to go in round 2 that are going to be a little bit higher up on the pedigree than somebody like Maxwell Harrison, which, again, great athlete. And if the Raiders end up taking him, I'm not going to say it's a bad pick, but I don't really think it's the type of corner that somebody like Pete Carroll typically goes for. What up, Ravens? I saw somewhere Charles Woodson mentors Will Johnson. Are there connections? I don't know if he mentors him. I'll be real, I haven't seen that, but it wouldn't shock me. Both guys went to Michigan. Both guys have Tom Brady ties. And at the exact same time, I know Woodson has done a lot of stuff with Michigan. Woodson's a better athlete than Will Johnson, but Johnson does have legit, I can be one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League type of vibes. Had a little bit of a down year this past year, had an injury, but when you go back and you watch his tape in 2023 and 2022, I don't know if there was a better cornerback in college football, dude. All right, another topic that we're going to be discussing here on today's show is the Raiders' top 10 pick 6 candidates. What do I mean by that? The Raiders are obviously picking number 6 in the NFL draft. So what I decided to do is rank the top 10 players that I think Pete Carroll and John Spytek are the most likely to select with that pick.
I thought top 10 Raiders to get pick 6s this year.
Oh, well then this segment, and whoever built it has no idea. I was like, this is really, really confusing. Seriously though, who do you want the Raiders to pick at number 6? Or maybe this is, who do you think the Raiders are going to pick? Because, if it was up to me, I'm not afraid to admit it, I would take Armin Membu and I would put him in at right tackle because I want to be able to win in the trenches. And I'm a believer when you have a dominant offensive line, everybody else around you is just going to be a lot better. And I know it's not a sexy pick, but, Colt Miller wasn't a sexy pick either, and he's been on the Raiders since 2018. And I would say that would be my mindset of how I would want to build this thing going forward. But this is not a who do you want? This is who do you think Pete Carroll and John Spytek are going to go with? And today I have them ranked from 10 all the way down to 1, and the players that's ranked number 1 is the one that I would say is the most likely, ends up being the pick.
Jalen Milroe.
Darren Rigged. I don't even know. What am I going here?
That guy who always says it's rigged.
Okay. Fair enough. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't know exactly where we were going with this.
I see Jeanty, Shedeur, a lot of Genties.
Seeing a lot of Genties. I see Shea Boy's going to go with Shedeur, Sanders, Jeanty from Delroy, Agent Red. A lot of more Genties coming in from Juan Hernandez. Evil Mitch going to go with Ashton Jeanty. Ward says, if Isaiah Bond is there with our second pick, let's go get him. That's a little bit early for me for Bond. I think you could probably get him in round 3. There's just better options. Yep. Will Johnson, Pac-Man.
Speaking of Mr. Rigged, very into today's show, we are going to do 2 March Madness races, and then the grand finale, the granddaddy of them all, will be on Thursday for our Raiders Report March Madness. And
I can't wait.
Jeremy, I have no clue what you're talking about. Who's even in the Final Four?
We got some elite, and I mean elite Raiders Report March Madness matches. So this means these 4 people, Philip Bogert, Ivan Perez, David Rubio, 93 Navman, had a 1 out of 4 chance to go home with $1,600, and the winner is going to be announced on Thursday. So today, we're doing this race, and then on Thursday, the granddaddy of them all on Thursday.
And I'm glad Marshall Green's in the room right now.
Why is that?
Because we actually have to get into our first segment of today because Allie Barefoot is going to be using this studio after us for Celtics versus Knicks.
What time's that game?
I believe it's at like 6:45. 6:30, 6:45.
Okay.
So they're going to be having a Super Chat battle tonight. Knicks Celtics.
Ooh.
And Navman, I see you super chatting. Allie said she needs everybody. She needs everybody to pull up so she can beat Marshall Green.
I mean, shit, if that's the case, I might have to make some deals because, I don't know. I kind of want the Celtics to get a win. I kind of want the Celtics to get a win. So we're going to do those two March Madness races today. Again, they're going to be at the end of today's show. Also, friendly reminder, every single $5 super chat that we get, we're going to be doing a hat giveaway today, a draft hat. I also told Chugs before the show started, every 100 likes we get, we're going to give away a free entry. So how about this? Because Josh I is the one that hit the gong on our Thursday show last week, and he's the reason why we're giving away a hat today. Whoever can spam Josh I, Josh space EYE the most, we're going to give away a free spot for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat. We're going to do that at the very, very end of today's show.
Ed Robbins is in the building, too. He said F the Knicks.
I promise you this.
Marshall's in trouble.
I promise you this. I'll make you guys a deal right now on this show. Every legit Raiders report bang that happens on Celtics in the first hour that she goes live, first 30 minutes she goes live, I'll do a beer bong. I have to work out after this show. I'm just going to warn you. I have to work out after this show, and then I'm going to come back down to the studio because where we are here, it's really close. And I'll rally with Celtics for a little bit. I'm kind of down to get down because Alex doesn't get home tonight until like 8:30. So I have some time to get down. I find it very hard to believe we draft anyone. We didn't have a top 30 meeting in the first unless someone projected 1, 2, or 3 drops dramatically. The only reason why I'm not going to, I'll say I agree and I'll say I kind of disagree with this. And I only say that because sometimes top 30 visits are not always reported.
And I do feel like
Not that. It's like if a player, let's say, is a local player, you could look at it like that. And it could also be if you grew up in the Las Vegas area, that also can be something where you want to have a top 30 visit. But with this regime, because relationships and connections matter a lot, I fully agree with you where there's got to be a top 30 visit, or there has to be an NFL Combine visit or a Pro Day visit. There has to be some sort of you met with one of those three to be that pick.
I'm actually going to give away 2 because we're 20 likes away from 200.
Okay.
I'm going to give away 2 free raffle entries. 1 to Big Luck, 1 to K Smooth 21. And if we get 20 more likes here in the next 20 seconds, I'll give away 1 more free entry.
I love it. I see Jonathan Moreno, K Smooth, Frankie down there below, Brian Baca. I see Money Chuck. Is that my Chuck? Jonathan Smith, what up, what up? I also know that, top 30 visits, or local visits don't count against top 30 visits.
I do also feel like top 30 visits are more important, in my opinion, when you're looking at guys outside of round 1. Like when you're looking at in the 4th or 5th round, and you're like, who's left on the board? I think a good indicator is, okay, who did my team have top 30 visits with who's still available in round 4, round 5? I remember I looked at Mitch last year.
I also think, though, brand new regimes do. I think for the Raiders this year at a brand new regime, I do think that pro days, that's why we're kind of making such a big deal about it this offseason a little bit more. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no, I remember last year it was like round 5 or round 6. Texans were on the board, and Mitch goes, who do you think the Texans are going to take here? And I said, well, they met with this guy. He's not on the top Mel's left list, but they met with him. 2 seconds later, he was the pick. Jamal Hill, linebacker, Oregon.
It does look like we did just hit over 200 likes.
So I'm going to give another free entry away to...
Let's hear it.
Jonathan Smith.
Jonathan Smith, you in. And if anybody else is trying to get in for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat, $5 super chat. Ask me any question about the Raiders today, and you're going to be entered in. Right now, you would have a 1 out of 4 chance to win the hat. Courtesy of our dude, Josh Flippin' I. All right, so the first segment that's going to be coming up here on today's show, I want to get into just some NFL rumors, some Raiders news that happened today. And I was kind of telling Chugs before I started this show that I wanted to be able to talk about so many different things, and he was like, well, let's just quick hit all the important things around the Raiders, around the NFL. So that's going to be coming up, and if you enjoy this show, well, then we're going to start doing more shows kind of like this. You good? Yeah? You ready to rock? Let's rock. Coming up, Raiders news and NFL rumors. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I got some must-see Raiders news and some NFL rumors that will 100% have an impact on the silver and black. The first topic that we're going to discuss here on today's show is the visits that the Raiders have today. And if you are watching this live, I said Raiders football is back because today is the official day for the offseason to kind of get rolling here for the Raiders. And they have 3 players that are entering the NFL draft visiting with the silver and black today. They are running back from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty, defensive tackle from Michigan, Mason Graham, and quarterback from Texas, Quinn Ewers. Am I the only one that finds it a little bit interesting that the Raiders invited these 3 players to their first day of voluntary offseason workouts? Now, I would imagine Max Crosby is going to be in the building because that guy essentially lives there. I would imagine that a lot of these other players like Jeremy Chins to the Landon Roberts, Geno Smith are probably also at the voluntary offseason workouts because Pete Carroll and John Spytek want dogs and they want guys that love football. So I do find it really interesting that those 3 players are all there today with the Raiders for voluntary offseason workouts. So the number one question that I want y'all to know, and maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, what is the significance to those visits being today? It wasn't yesterday. It's not on Wednesday. It's not on Thursday. To schedule all 3 of those visits today, I do think that there's some significance to that. So scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, Mitch, you're totally blowing this out of the water. 10, that's a really big deal that those 3 players are there today. My answer is this. I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go that the significance of those visits being today, I think it's a 7 out of 10, and I think it's a 7, maybe even an 8 out of 10 because I know the Raiders are interested in Ashton Jeanty. I know the Raiders are interested in Mason Graham, and I know for a fact the Raiders are interested in Quinn Ewers. Here's how I know, though. First off, they're interested in Jeanty. He's had a top 30 visit already, formal combine meeting, and a pro day visit. Also on top of that, John Spytek and the Raiders running back coach Dylan McCullough had dinner with Jeanty, the Boise State head coach, after his pro day. The only team that had dinner with Jeanty after his pro day was the Las Vegas Raiders. Also on top of that, I would imagine that Pete wants to get his son, a little bit going in his new job. Guess who runs the running game? Brennan Carroll. He is the run game coordinator. He is the offensive line coach, and I could see that they would want Ashton Jeanty. In terms of Mason Graham, the Raiders held a top 30 visit with him and met with him at the NFL Combine. He's got Michigan ties with Brady, and we know Tom Brady's going to have a lot of pull this upcoming season. I also said in my show that I put out earlier this morning on my Raiders offseason winners and losers that it blows my mind in a good way how many things that this organization did to make Max Crosby happy, from keeping Adam Butler to keeping Rob Leonard to giving Patrick Graham a raise. And I'll tell you this, Mason Graham helps out Max Crosby, and he helps out Christian Wilkins a lot. Also, the Raiders clearly value the trenches. It's what they've been doing all offseason. Here's the really interesting one. Quinn Ewers, top 30 visit, met before the pro day and the NFL Combine. Quinn Ewers is the only quarterback entering the 2025 NFL Draft that has a top 30 visit, met at a pro day and an NFL Combine visit on a day that they're doing voluntary offseason. Also, a few days ago, I said I believe the Raiders are targeting a quarterback on day 3. When you see the amount of draft rumors that indicate that the Raiders are looking at day 3 guys, when you see how many rumors, we're going to talk about some of them, that some quarterbacks could go earlier than expected. Also, I've said that I believe that Ewers kind of fits that 2 to 3 year development window. Geno's contract is he is guaranteed to be the quarterback for the Raiders for the next 2 to 3 years. You let Quinn Ewers learn and develop underneath him for 2 to 3 years, who knows? You could have a high upside guy, and Quinn Ewers is definitely high upside, but very, very raw still. So still what we're going to be coming up next here on the show is, again, some more Raiders news that I just find interesting. And anytime I find something interesting, I want to be able to share it with y'all. That's literally how I started doing this show. The next thing that we're going to talk about here is the latest going on around cornerback from Michigan, Will Johnson. And Johnson has been another name that you have to admit it as well. We've been hearing a lot more Will Johnson of the Raiders talking round 1. I don't know if Johnson would be the pick that I would go with at number 6. If the silver and black were to trade back, this is kind of where I would go, all right, this is where I would like Johnson a little bit more giggity in there. Because Johnson, I would say at 6 is a little bit early. Will Johnson a little bit later at pick like 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range, just feels a little bit better to me. But according to Ian Rappaport, Michigan All-American cornerback Will Johnson, one of the draft's top cornerbacks, he's going to work out for NFL teams on Monday at 10 a.m. This is next week in Ann Arbor, now that he's fully healed from a hamstring injury, which he suffered in February. What's interesting about this is he's working out on Monday, and then guess what? The very first team that he's visiting with after his workout, that following day, the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders have held a top 30 visit with them. They're going to have a formal they had a formal combine meeting with them. Obviously, some Michigan ties there with Tom Brady again. Some Charles Woodson ties in there as well. Pete Carroll wants a corner. Pete Carroll loves cornerbacks that have that Will Johnson build. And this is something that we said, if you go back in one of our videos about a month ago, I discussed that a combine source that, again, we sent multiple people here at Chat Sports. It was like 8 or 9 guys to the NFL Combine. And one of our dudes said that the Raiders apparently asked Mason Graham about Will Johnson. And when you're asking another top 6 pick about another player that's probably going to go in, the top 10, top 12 picks, that really piques my interest. And then it piques my interest even more because Mason Graham is there for the official day today, and then Will Johnson's coming next week. The Raiders clearly have their eyes on both of those Michigan prospects. And then the final thing that I'm going to talk about here for Raiders news is some people might like Mel Kiper. Some people might not like him. But what's really important about this show is this is the final mock draft that Mel's going to put out. So the final mock draft for Mel, it has some value because Mel does hear some things around NFL circles because of his ties with ESPN. So because he's got those ties with ESPN, because he's talking to dudes like Schefter, I do really value what he has to say in that final mock draft. So what you guys are going to see is the players that Mel has projected to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 6, at pick number 37, because he put out a 2-round mock draft. But I also know this, that not everybody has the ability to watch and read ESPN Plus articles because it's not for free. So what I would tell anybody out there is this. This is why you should subscribe to the Raiders Report. It costs you $0 a year to subscribe to the Raiders Report. Or you can pay $120 a year for ESPN Plus and you can read Mel's article. Or you just watch the show and I'm going to break it all down for you. If you're a diehard Raiders fan and you want Raiders content 365 days out of the year, 100% free, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. So we're going to roll through here real quick what that Mel Kiper 2-round mock draft was. Coming off the board at number 1 of the Titans was Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell. Then Mason Graham goes off the board at number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So then what ends up happening at number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock, and I'm not shocked at all. This is the pick. This has kind of been the most popular pick by Mel. It's Ashton Jeanty. He's going to go off the board here at number 6. And Jeanty's been that name that's just constantly coming up over and over and over and over again in Raiders mocks. And Mel said this is why the Raiders would end up going with them at pick number 6. Last in rushing yards per game at 79.8. Last in yards per rush at 3.6. Tied for second fewest runs of 10 or more yards with 34. That's what Las Vegas produced on the ground last season. New coach Pete Carroll is going to want to much more out of his run game, and Jeanty could immediately flip the script. He displayed excellent speed, contact, balance, vision, and route to 2,601 rushing yards last season. He could be an elite 3-down back in the NFL. I agree that he could be an elite 3-down back. He does need to work on his ability to catch the football, which go back and look at his 23 tape. Go back and look at his 23 stats. He was able to do it, and he looked a lot better doing it. I want to see how he can get a little bit better in pass protection on top of that. But Ashton Jeanty at pick 6, I don't really think anybody would be mad about that at all. Let's now go to round 2 where the Raiders are on the clock here. Tyler Shuck goes off the board at 33. Jalen Milroe at 34. As you can see, there are some people out there like Mel that think that there is going to be a run on quarterback a lot earlier than projected. I will tell you this very confidently. If Emeka Egbuka is on the board, at this point, the Raiders will 100% trade up to 35 with the Titans, or they're going to try to trade up to take them because, hell, I think that there's a chance the Raiders could try to trade up and get them at the back end of round 1. But at pick number 37 in Mel Kiper's mock, the Raiders are going to go with linebacker Carson Swessinger out of UCLA. Swessinger was ranked my number 4 player that I would want the Raiders to take at 37, and I do think it's because he combines really well with the Landon Roberts and Devin White, and Kiper agrees with me. Swessinger came out of nowhere in 2024 with 115 tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 interceptions. The Raiders have big question marks at linebacker after Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo both signed elsewhere. Swessinger could join new additions to Landon Roberts and Devin White to rebuild the position. So overall, I look at this mock draft by Mel. We addressed the need at running back. We addressed the need at linebacker. I would give this an A- grade. I would still like to be able to find a wide receiver. I would still like to be able to go out and find a corner. But if this is how the Raiders started the 2025 NFL draft, I would not be upset at all. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into the NFL rumors that you have to see. And actually, we just got some random Raiders news. Former Raiders cornerback Jack Jones went unclaimed off waivers and is now an unrestricted free agent. So that just goes to show that all 32 NFL teams had a chance to claim Jack Jones. Not a single team was interested, which means nobody was interested in that $3.4 million, which shouldn't surprise anybody because nobody ended up trading for Jack Jones. I'm going to get into the NFL rumors that y'all need to see here in just a moment, but today's show is sponsored by GameTime, the official ticketing partner of the Raiders Report and Chat Sports. And I love this time of the year because the playoffs are right around the corner for the NBA and NHL. Plus, baseball is finally back. If you're trying to go to your favorite sporting event, GameTime is the app for you. I've used GameTime for the past few years, and I can't tell you how many MLB games I've been able to go with me and my fiance, Alex. Last-minute tickets and zone deals. Easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area. Views from all of the seats in the venue. Lowest price guarantee. Event cancellation protection. Job loss protection. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app. Create an account. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Or you can just look at the bottom of your screen. Or if you don't know how to spell Chat Sports at this time, well, I don't know if I can help you at that point. So download GameTime today. If you're wondering what time is it, it's game time. One of the number one things I want to really try to do, I want to go to a Vegas Golden Knights game. If anybody's got a hookup with that, dude, I love being able to go watch hockey live. And my dad's an Islanders fan, I'm not going to lie, and watching the Ovechkin game the other night and having him score $8.95, my dad was so upset that he wasn't watching it live. He literally stepped out for a minute, and I told him, dude, Ovechkin just scored. I would love to be able to go watch a hockey game live, and I think for anybody out there that's never had the opportunity to do it, you should try to take advantage of it because the Golden Knights are one hell of a team. Shout out to GameTime for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Again, those links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So let's talk about some of these NFL news and rumors. And where there's smoke, there's fire, y'all. And I know a lot of y'all probably roll your eyes when I say that statement because I say it a lot. But there is a lot of smoke right now around Shedeur going to the New Orleans Saints, so much so that there's already been talks of Shedeur-lins. Saints quarterback coach and wide receiver coach met with Dion at Colorado's Pro Day. And after that meeting took place and after Shedeur had his Pro Day, I am somebody that I like to look at the tea leaves. I like to look at rumors. Deion Sanders recently said, quote, that he likes the possibility of the Saints drafting Shedeur. We also know that Deion's been very vocal about what teams he wants his son to be able to go to. There's also been a lot of rumors that sounds like Travis Hunter's going to go number 2 overall. Sounds like Cam Ward's going to go number 1 overall. And I always look at Vegas. And since the Pro Day, the team that has the highest betting odds to draft Shedeur Sanders are, in fact, the New Orleans Saints. What I find very interesting about that, and I love the fact that that's kind of in the realm of possibilities, because in my personal opinion, the Saints wanting Shedeur makes me think that a Raiders and Saints trade, it could happen. I would scream from the rooftops, if you want the Raiders to trade back, hit that like button type of shit, because I do think going from 6 to 9, we all nice, right? That one's for you, Rebel. When you go from 6 to 9, you can go back and you can accumulate some of those more picks. I also know that Brady is obviously in the Sanders circle. I'm not saying that Dion is like going to tell the Saints, hey, you got to work with the Raiders, but I do think that Dion has that trust factor with the Raiders to sit there and tell certain people that are close to him. And again, Tom Brady has been Shedeur's mentor. I really do believe that the Raiders and Saints, there's a better chance of a trade happening because Dion, Shedeur, they trust Tom Brady probably more than they trust almost any other NFL team out there. And if the Raiders are willing to trade back, which they 100% are looking to trade back. I'm not saying that they're going to do it, but they're at least entertaining the ideas because they want to get some more draft picks. Well, here's a trade that I think when you look at the NFL trade value chart, it aligns. It's also what I would want from the Raiders. The unfortunate part about this year's draft is it's not as valuable as past years. And I really think that this is a trade that I would do. If you told me right now we can go from 6 down to 9, we get an extra second-round pick at pick 40 that helps us get an extra dude, maybe like a Trey Amos, maybe an Xavier Watts, maybe a Trevion Henderson, maybe it helps you get a Carson Swessinger. And then the Saints, they get pick 108 in exchange. This would be a good deal for the Raiders, and I think that this is kind of the price of what it would cost if you wanted to trade back from 6 to 9, and if the Saints wanted to go up and get Shedeur Sanders, because jumping over the Jets at 7, I do think is something to look at. I know they have Justin Fields, but it's only a one-year prove-it deal, essentially. Let's talk about another quarterback. It's Jalen Milroe, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Jalen Milroe might go in round 1, and that's a shocking statement because, hell, if you would ask me 48 hours ago, do I think Jalen Milroe goes in the top 2 rounds, I say no. And I say that because, and if you haven't seen this story, this is one to really, truly monitor. Milroe recently accepted an invitation to attend the NFL draft. What this means is there is at least one NFL team that is legitimately considering drafting him in round 1. One NFL executive said, quote, the NFL doesn't want another Will Levis situation. So do you remember when Will was thought to be a potential top 5 pick, round 1 pick? He sat there all day and it did not end up getting drafted. Obviously ended up getting drafted in round 2. But the NFL has been very critical and it's been very, what'd you say? Oh, that's totally different. The NFL, though, has been very if you're going to invite somebody to the or if you're going to invite somebody to the draft, they have to have a chance to be drafted in round 1. Let's face it, if Shedeur goes off the board, if Jalen's potentially going to go in round 1, I think that means Jackson Dart's going earlier, Tyler Shuck might go earlier, and you could see a huge run on quarterbacks, kind of like what we saw maybe last season with some of those offensive linemen. So now is what I want you to do is look into those crystal balls and tell me, will Jalen Milroe get drafted in round 1? I'm still going to say that I feel like the answer is no, right? This is like my mind's telling me one thing, my body's telling me something else. I know Milroe is an alien. And I know if there's some coaches out there that probably believe, hey, I can work with this kid because his 2023 tape with Nick Saban is a lot better than his 2024 tape without Nick Saban. And we'll see what ends up happening. But I do think that Jalen Milroe, after seeing that a team invited him, I don't even think he's going to be available to the Raiders at 37, which means, again, you could see a run on quarterbacks, which might be good because that means that some players might end up falling. If you were to ask me which teams do I think are the most likely to get Milroe, I do think that the New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns, not obviously at pick 2 or 3, but kind of in the back end of the first round or at the beginning of the second round. The Saints have got to be up there. Pittsburgh, because I know there's some meetings there. And Sean McVay has always been one of those dudes that really does truly believe in himself. The Jets also are a team to throw out there that could potentially pick a QB, again, because they have Justin Fields. Before we get into the final story, and it's actually some trade rumors around a very prominent Jets player, I want to give a shout-out to the Noti Gang, and you're going to see a bunch of people that are watching this live today, a bunch of shout-outs to the Noti Gang, because this is the time of the year where when stuff gets slow, and y'all are still commenting on our videos very early, it is the ultimate. So I want to be able to show you guys that I appreciate that. So Bila, Jaime, Clownface, Killa, and Mad Vet Raider, huge shout out to you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for turning on those notifications. And thank you for being a part of that Noti Gang. Let's go to the final story here, and it's around Breece Hall. And there's been some speculation that the New York Jets could potentially move on from Breece Hall, which that means if the Jets are moving on from a running back because the Raiders have been so terrible at running back, could the Raiders be interested? Well, if you haven't seen the latest around this, Hall is apparently on the Jets trade block because of some of the comments that New York front office has made, essentially saying that they're going to go with a 3 running back approach. And that doesn't, not that it doesn't sit well with Hall, but because he's in the final year of his contract, a prove-it year, he doesn't want to be in a committee. He wants to go out there, do his thing, and prove that he deserves to get paid big time. So the fact that the Raiders clearly need a running back, and Hall does fit that running style that Pete Carroll looks for of just physicality. He can also catch the football, I think, a lot better than what people give him credit for. But I'll be real. This isn't a trade that the Raiders would consider before the draft. Quite frankly, I'd be shocked if any team really tried to trade for Breece Hall before the draft, just considering how deep the running back draft class is. If somehow, some way, we leave the 2025 NFL draft with the same running back room that we entered it with, then yeah, then we're going to need a running back and we're going to need to explore all those other options. But Hall has been a name that I have been asked, Mitch, could you see the Raiders trading for him based on the recent rumors and based on the recent reports out of New York? I don't think it's going to happen. I would be shocked simply because of how deep this running back class truly, truly is. Now, I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm at MitchellRenz365, and if I don't get to any of your questions, I will always try to hit up my DMs. I've also been pumping out a lot of content, whether it's some of the videos that we already make here, even more takes on social. So if you like what you see here and you want more Raiders Report content, don't be afraid to hit me up on social media at MitchellRenz365. Let's go to another super chat coming in here, and I see DD Natman. You in. I don't care who they draft first round as long as it's a need. I mean, I could sit up here and go, think of a running back. Caleb Johnson at pick 6, running back. That's a need, right? You still have to be able to find value. And maybe what you're saying is picks that are just the obvious choices where, I would say the Ashton Jeantys, the Will Campbell, the Armin Membu, some people might say a Jahdae Barron. There's just certain names that you have to consider. But also what the Raiders need to do is they just need to add good football players. Sometimes we overthink based on need, where last year the Raiders drafted the best guy on the board. And Brock Bowers is a hell of a football player. Jackson Powers-Johnson is a hell of a football player. And it's not that, I look at an Armin Membu and I go, I get it might not be the biggest need, but in my mind, he's a hell of a football player. What if the Raiders go with Tyler Warren and they make Brock Bowers the ex-receiver? Warren's a hell of a football player. There is a lot of options that the Raiders could go with. I don't want to say that I don't care because you're watching the Raiders Report in the middle of April, so you clearly do care, right? It's a cold, hard fact. I just hope that they don't get it wrong. But I don't think that this regime will get it wrong because this has been a regime that, even if it's a pick that might surprise you, because of Spytek's ability and because of Pete Carroll's ability through their past regimes to get it right and do it well, I'm going to have confidence in this group. Didi, you're also in. You said we have chat sports breaking news?
We do.
All right, I'm listening.
So, some chat sports breaking news here. It just came in a second ago.
Okay.
Not this Thursday.
Okay.
But next Thursday's Raiders Live happy hour edition is actually going to be set a little bit earlier than normal because we're doing something that we've never done here before at Chat Sports. We're doing our own Chat Sports live mock draft, just like how ESPN does it. All of the major Chat Sports shows are going to be live at the same time next Thursday and be making our picks in real time for I believe a 2 or 3 round mock draft.
Interesting. I like that a lot, actually. That's going to be fun.
So not this Thursday, but next Thursday we'll be live a couple hours earlier, but at the same time as every other Chat Sports channel. So Rebel, make sure you have your quad box ready. We'll be live with all the other Chat Sports NFL channels. I believe Tom is going to be live on Cowboys as well.
That's fun. I like this idea.
It'll allow us to do multiple things. One, everybody will be able to be live at the same time, so we'll be able to kind of do, other publications, ESPN, other places do kind of the same similar things of a live mock draft setting. We want to try that, and it gives you all a chance to learn more about the prospects and check out our brand new draft graphics.
Dude, I'm in. I like this idea a lot. Also, random NFL news, maybe not random. Shedeur Sanders is scheduled to visit the Pittsburgh Steelers later this week. Pittsburgh holds pick 21. I don't think he's going to be there, but maybe. I mean, here's the thing. We say all the time quarterbacks are going to go, quarterbacks are going to go.
So if it's Shedorlands, does that mean it could be Schittsburg?
I mean, it rhymes, I guess. It makes sense. It makes sense. All right, let's go to some more super chats that are here on today's show. Again, over 800 people here in the building. We did just cross 300 likes, so can you give me a Raiders down below? Whoever spams Raiders the most. And this next time, we're going to put you in for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat. Every $5 super chat that we get on today's show, you're going to be entered to win a Raiders draft hat, courtesy again of Josh I. But if you want an opportunity to win one for free, spam Raiders down below. Chugs is going to pick a name, and we'll keep it going. When will you be doing the Madden Sims? Really enjoy those shows, but always love the work you and Chugs do. Excuse me. I would say probably middle of May we will start. So technically what has to happen is obviously the draft has to end. Then the NFL releases its schedule. Once the NFL releases its schedule, that's when we'll start doing the Madden Sims. And if you don't know what the Madden Sims are, imagine just a Raiders Report watch party, Madden style. Though I've been wondering, like, do I let Chugs play, or do we just do the Madden Sim as the Madden Sim? Maybe we just do the Madden Sim. We'll see. All right, I'm going to give some shout-outs here. I see Didi. I see Legendary, D-Killer. What up, Sancho? Legendary, Jimmy Gaming down there below. Cali Raider, Steven Gutierrez. What up, Brian Baca, Mark Prosser?
Go with Jeremy Cole.
All right. Mr. Cool. Jeremy cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Haha, you did it.
Why Pete not wearing any Raiders gear? I mean, that's not 100% true. And his introductory press conference, he wore some Raiders gear. I mean, here's the other part of it. I think we also got to remember Pete Carroll's 73 years old. And, you know, I don't know how many 73-year-olds you know in your life, but they're probably just going to do what they want to do. You know, like, if Pete's going to show up in a Hawaiian shirt every day, they're probably like, they're just going to allow him to do it. But, I mean, Pete's wore some silver and black stuff. Speaking of random outfits, the outfit Gino had on, I almost feel like I got to bring back my silver suit. Dude, I mean, I felt like he had the exact same silver jacket I used to rock. I mean, it was the exact same color.
Well, I mean, we do know he watches the show.
Well, I don't know if Gino watches the show as much as he at least knows who I am on social media now, which, like, it's not a cocky statement. If you play for the Raiders and you don't know the Raiders Report, not saying you have to watch it. I'm not trying to make a bigger deal out of it than what we are here, but, like, at the same time, you should have a little bit of care that what team you're representing, and you should want to get to know the fan base. And, you know, Gino gave his flowers to Raider Nation. You know, I don't even think it's, like, knowing the Raiders Report, knowing certain things. Like, actually, I don't know if, Nabman, if you saw this the other day, somebody who covers the Seattle Seahawks, she, like, posted a picture, and it was like, the Raiders Report is going crazy for Gino throwing hundos, and she's, like, pretty big in the Seahawks world, and I don't think people realize how often people watch this show. Like, I know Baron Davis watches the show all the time. What up, Baron? I know a few other NBA players watch this show. I know some former WWE guys watch this show. Like, I think you'd be surprised how many Raiders fans are all celebrities that enjoy this show. What up, Aggressive? Just left jury duty. Need me some Raiders content. Speaking of jury duty.
Were they guilty?
One of the best shows that if you haven't seen, has anybody here seen the show series or whatever, Jury Duty? I mean, we've talked about it before. I mean, it might be hands down one of the most hilarious things I've ever watched. Oh, your Jury Duty got deferred to June? Wow, that's clutch. Have you ever been asked to do Jury Duty?
Dude, me and my wife were just talking about this the other day. She's been asked 3 times. I've not been asked.
I've never been asked, to my knowledge.
Rebel said they were guilty. Good to know.
Guilty.
Plenty
of linebacker free agents. Are we grabbing one? Also, I saw Gino liked and commented on your post. I rally with him, and I'm excited for the draft. I don't know if the Raiders are going to grab a linebacker yet, and here's my honest opinion. For a player to sign right now, it probably means that they're a little bit nervous of what their value could look like after the NFL draft, where, some of these bigger name players, I see them waiting until after the draft to know where certain teams have needs, and then that's where they're going to try to go. Maybe, but at the same time, they already got Devin White. They got a Landon Roberts. Still a lot of room to grow there, but still, Tommy Eichenberg, very unproven. Amari Burney, still very unproven. Maury Gaynor, very unproven. I would say they're probably going to go out and draft at least one linebacker, but signing one at this point, no, I don't really think that they sign one before the NFL draft. Maybe after, but even that, I don't think that they're going to need to. Let's go to Ace Boy Jess. What up, dude? Can I get a shout out to my son Braden, who is turning 8 today? He asked if Mitch can say happy birthday to me. Love you, Bray Dog. All right, I'm going to need you. So, honestly, I love these type of messages. These are really cool.
Look at Rebel's comment.
Rebel's comment? Time to sing. You ready? And I'm telling you, y'all better sing for Bray Dog out there. Happy birthday to Braden. This one's coming in from the Raiders
Report. And you know
what?
Whoever spams HBD the most right now, you're getting an entry into our draft hat raffle at the end of the show. All the 5s that you see, they're all entered as well. Whoever spams HBD the most, you're getting a free entry.
Let's do it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bray Dog. Happy birthday.
That's hard to compete with.
To you.
Happy birthday, Braden. You kind of got a lot of Adam Sandler Jewish tone to you. You got a little Adam Sandler Jewish tone in that voice.
I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to go with Day-Day, Brian Baca, and one more. Who else wants it? Day-Day, Brian Baca, and...
What's the song that's like, white boat gangsters in the club?
I'm going to go with Sucker Free.
Every time I hear the name Day-Day, that's always the song I think of. White boat gangsters in the club, hey, Day-Day. It's hey, baby, hey, baby, hey, baby. 888, 888. What up, Cameron? If Will Johnson's comp is Woodson, why not take him at 6? I actually don't think that that's the comp at all. I think Woodson actually compared Will Johnson to Patrick Surtain, which that's a lofty goal. But if you're going to draft a cornerback at 6, that's what you're kind of hoping for, right? You're kind of hoping for somebody that can just shut down one side of the field, where Johnson is a really good athlete. But it's not. I don't think it's a disrespectful thing to say that Will Johnson is not the athlete that Charles Woodson was. What do you got for me? Oh, God.
Trace is all in.
Trace is all in on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, do you agree? I actually don't think that Will Johnson and Charles Woodson is a good comp. I think Woodson was a far better.
But, I mean, how many times not only in the NFL.
Again, Woodson won the Heisman, y'all.
Well, I mean, but also, how many times in the NFL, NBA do we hear, oh, this guy reminds me of X. This guy's the next LeBron James. This guy could be the next Andrew Luck. This guy could be, this guy's probably the next Todd Gurley. This guy's probably the next whatever. And half the guys don't end up being anything close to that guy.
Oh, I think, honestly, what people do is they pick a name that people know. The unfortunate problem with that is most time, the people or the players that people know are these unbelievable players, right? If Will Johnson comes out and he's Patrick Surtain, that is a hell of a corner. And if you told me right now Will Johnson's the next Patrick Surtain, I'm probably on board with taking him at number 6. That's obviously great. I would say Surtain's the top corner in the NFL right now, but I don't think the comp to Woodson makes all that much sense. I'm going to be honest. Let's go to Sean. If Sanders is somehow available at 37, do you think that we draft him? I don't think he's going to be available at 37. If it was up to me, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I don't really see why the Raiders would draft Shedeur at this point, because Gino's going to be your guy for the next 2 to 3 years. I would draft players that help me win right now because there is no chance that Shedeur is going to be better than Geno this year. No chance Shedeur is going to be better than Geno next season. And then, depending on what the money looks like, I still don't know how the exact breakdown of Geno's contract is going to look, which maybe I can see here real quick. Maybe if they have it updated. But it wouldn't be something that I do. Let's just say that. Though, the fact that Jalen Milroe got invited to the NFL draft and he's showing up, if Jalen has a chance to go round 1, I think that just means that Shedeur is definitely going round 1. What up, Real Cowboy? Go best player available at 6 or trade back. Chances are whoever the best available is will fill a need. We have a few. We do have a few needs. Like free safety is a need. Cornerbacks a need. Running backs a need. Linebackers a need. I'd still say even right tackle, I can make the argument, is a little bit of a need. But if you're the Raiders and you go best player available, I don't think that you can fail. And when you've been an organization that has failed, the amount of times that we have failed in round 1, going best player available at 6, I don't think is a bad idea to do. What up, Melly? Will the Chat Sports draft include trades? Please say yes.
No, it will not.
I was going to say, I would be shocked.
The only thing is because we're going to try to put this out on like social media and stuff, and usually like with mock drafts, like a lot of the times you don't want to make a ton of moves and make a ton of stuff like that because you just want it to be, what would it look like if the draft was like this, And secondly, on the clock, it's going to be really hard to get trade value because I do feel like none of us would be able to do trades because we're too close to our teams. We would all be like, oh, yeah, you want the 6th pick? I'm going to need your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
I think what would happen is it would take so long for us to be able to
iron out the trade details.
Exactly, where I don't think it would be as easy. But I'll tell you this, I don't think it's a crazy idea to think about. We'll test run something, and I actually didn't even know that we were going to do this plan. It literally just popped up on our radar at the time that I'm live right now. But it'll be fun. We've never had the chance to do it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually happy that we're doing this. I think it's a really cool idea. What up, Jersey boy? What is Breece Hall's trade value? I mean, we talked to some people here at Chat Sports that cover the Jets, and it kind of sounded like
swap.
I was going to say, it kind of sounded like, what was the trade today that somebody said it was like a third?
Actually, this was from our Bears guy, Harrison Graham. The trade that he cooked up was the Jets send Breece Hall and a 4th or a 5th. I think maybe Breece Hall and a 5th for a 3rd.
Yeah.
So it'd be a pick swap.
And it's, again, like I think Breece Hall is a really good running back, but I'm not giving up. And then he's in the final year. He's in the final year of his contract. So he's in the final year of his contract, and then you got to go out and pay him. I don't think it's going to be a massive deal. I would say it would probably be along the realm of, you give him a 2-year deal with that other 3rd year, probably $10 million a year. And
I was just about to say 2 for $20.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to do that when we have a lot of other needs that we have. Yes, we have the money, but I just go out and draft a running back.
Would you do it if Pete Carroll was like, I want to take O-line and wide receiver in the first 2 picks and then go defensive and other guys?
Maybe. Like I said, going into the draft, no, I don't want to trade for Breece Hall. If we leave the draft and you're telling me our number 1 running back is Raheem Mostert, I'm going to be like, all right, let's go back to Breece Hall.
What if it's like round 4 and all of your favorite running backs are off the board and during the draft? Would you be willing to do a during draft trade of a round 4 or round 5 pick for Breece Hall? If say your top guys are off the board.
But see, there's still guys in round Damian Martinez. What if he's available in round 4? I'd rather you go with Damian Martinez.
But Breece Hall, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, I also know I got to pay him, and he hasn't been able to stay all that healthy.
Raiders don't have any money.
They have a lot of money. They got a lot of money. Let's go to Brian Hinkle. Brian Hinkle,
he's just getting in.
He's just, with a last name like Hinkle, he's just trying to get in. And speaking of getting in, Knutson, definitely in. Smoke screen season, what do you think happens if Titans don't take Ward?
I'll laugh. I'll laugh my ass off.
If the Titans don't take Cam Ward, we might have to make a Christian Yelich bet.
I was listening to local sports radio,
He's
and
the
there was a guy who was like, dude, if the Titans were smart, they'd take Travis Hunter 1 overall and give Will Levis 1 more year. No.
If I was the Tennessee Titans, I would try to trade back. I would try to trade back. I really, really – now, again, I love me some Cam Ward, but I don't think Cam's going to have success in Tennessee. Not the success that I would want him to have. How about that? If you're the Titans, you have the amount of holes that they have, I would try to trade back.
Yeah.
I would. I would try to trade back. Because not that I think Will Levis is booty. He's obviously not as good as, Cam Ward. And if he were to start, probably be one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you have as many holes as what they do, giggity, I would try to trade back. So for those that do not know, we go live again every Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to get your questions, comments on the show, you got to use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to skip the line. And today, every $5 Super Chat that we get, you're going to be entered into a chance to win a Raiders draft hat. We are 45 likes away. We have 765 people tuned in right now. We are 45 likes away from giving away another free entry for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat. I see a super chat coming in from Nabman, which, do you want to get to that one after the segment? Cool. All right, Nav, we're going to get to that super after the next segment. The next one that we got coming up here is some cornerbacks that the Raiders are going to look at and potentially take in the 2025 NFL draft, and I'm going to break it down round by round. To everybody else watching, if you haven't already, hit that like button. You ready? Coming up, hang on, dude. I wish I could tell y'all what that joke is. Chugs and I have been laughing about something all day. The whole chat sports team has. All right, let me try to get myself together here. All right, let's do this. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and the Las Vegas Raiders are 100% going to select a cornerback in the 2025 NFL Draft. The question is when and where. Today, I'm going to be breaking down some different options for the Raiders that are going to be broken down round by round. So I'll tell you who I would look at in round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The fact that the Raiders have 9 picks in 7 rounds really illustrates to me that they can go in a lot of different ways. We know Pete Carroll really values the cornerback position, and ever since the Raiders moved on from Jack Jones, which actually today I'm recording this video and Jones went through waivers, no 32 teams ended up putting in a waiver claim. He is officially a free agent. But because there were some people out there that were surprised that the Raiders were moving on from Jones, a lot of people have been wondering, well, what exactly is the Raiders' plan going to be? The Raiders went out and they signed Eric Stokes. You got Jacory Bennett, and then there's still a lot of unknown commodities in that cornerback room. There's some talent, but there's still a lot of unknowns. So because there's a lot of unknowns, I could see the Raiders going out and selecting a corner. And I would say depending on how confident you are in this cornerback room is going to depend on when exactly you want the Raiders to take a corner. So the number one question that I want the nation to answer from today's video, what is your confidence level in the Raiders cornerback room? Just the corners, not safeties, not defense, just the cornerback room. Scale it from 1 to 10. My answer and my confidence in this cornerback room right now is this. I'm going to say it is a 5. And I say it is a 5 because I do believe Jacory Bennett is going to take another step forward here in year 3. The Cameron Richardson, I don't really know what we're going to get. But that number is higher because I believe in Marcus Robinson. I believe in Patrick Graham. I believe in Pete Carroll. But a lot of unknowns. We need to add some talent. We need to add some competition. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's first look at the corners that I would target if I was the Raiders. And every corner that you see on today's show does have, in some shape or form, some sort of connection with the silver and black. To me, there's only 2 corners that you can look at in round 1 at pick 6. And even with me saying that, I think looking at both of these corners at pick 6 is a little bit early if it was up to me. Personally, I would rather you trade back and then go out and target a guy, maybe like a Will Johnson, who's got a top 30 visit with the Raiders. He's got a formal combine meeting, and when he tests out his hammy, which he's going to test that out on a week from today that I'm recording. So that is what, April 15th? The following day, the very first visit he's going to take is going to be with the Las Vegas Raiders. And we know Pete Carroll loves big, long, athletic corners. His biggest weakness is his recovery speed, but this guy makes plays on the football. He's been working with Charles Woodson, has that Michigan tie. Another corner that the Raiders could potentially look at is Jahdae Barron, who met with the Raiders at the NFL Combine. This is somebody who's a true Swiss Army knife. He played outside, he played in the slot, played in the box, as well as a dime linebacker for Texas. So if you're somebody who values versatility, which Patrick Graham values versatility, I do think that he's somebody that's maybe a little bit quicker than fast. Great eyes, great instincts, can play up against the run, can stop the pass, can do a lot of great different things. But I would say the only two corners that the Raiders could take in round one, Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson. Let's go to round two, and this to me is maybe where you're going to see a lot more names because there's a lot more potential. And round two corners is kind of one of the reasons why I want the Raiders to trade back. First name I'm going to bring up here is Benjamin Morrison. Had a top 30 visit with the Raiders, met with him at the Combine. Love his ability to make plays on the football. 9 interceptions in 31 games played with the Fighting Irish. Does play bigger than his size, competitive toughness, and you can see the toughness. You can see how competitive he is, and you can tell that this young man loves football, which is really important for this new regime. Another corner that has been growing on the Raiders' radar, I'm telling you this right now, is Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss, who met with the Silver and Black at the NFL Combine. Love his instincts and ball skills. He is always around the football, and if you are a coaching staff that believes in your ability to coach, I do think Trey Amos has a lot of upside. He also showed improvement in his coverage game every single year. When you're playing in the SEC and you can get better and better, Trey Amos, I would love at pick 37. Let's go to another name here that has been maybe forgot about a little bit. Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback from East Carolina. He met with the Raiders at the Combine. He's got NFL traits. That speed and body length fit what Pete typically looks for in a corner. I mean, this guy's like 6'3". He's long. He's lanky. Kind of looks like Richard Sherman. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Tore his ACL in September this past season, is healthy, and is going to be ready to go by the start of the regular season. Let's go to round three, pick number 68 here for some of the corners that the Raiders could target on this round, right? And I would say day two is going to be the day that I am the most locked into seeing which corners could potentially go off the board. One name that I'm starting to do a little bit more homework on is Darian Porter, and this is kind of the time of the year where I'm starting to get in more of like the round 3, round 4 type of prospects, and he is a freak athlete. NFL comp is Tariq Woolen. Pete Carroll drafted Tariq Woolen out of UTSA. He did make his first start, though, at corner in his 6th year of college football this past season. Has played wide receiver in the past, and he was just an athlete, so they were like, all right, let's get this guy on the field. Because of his just insane athletic ability, that speed, the acceleration, worst case scenario, he's a really good special teams player. I know you don't draft a really good special teams player in round 3, but Darian Porter is a project that does interest me a lot. If you're looking for more Raiders draft videos, hell, I've put out a video around other running back targets, other wide receiver targets. And if you're looking for more Raiders draft content, man, we are a few weeks away from the big day. Make sure you're subscribed to the Raiders Report. We're about to be pumping out even more draft content. Let's go to round 4 here at pick 108. Some of the corners that I have in mind here in this round, and there's some good value to be had in round 4. There's some really good value to be had in round 5. Probably one of my favorite corners in this year's class based on value. Noel Williams from California. 14 career interceptions, 7 this past season. I do think that he's probably built better to be a press man corner. He's still good in zone. And the fact that when you watch his tape, he shows you good tape in man and he shows you good tape in zone. That is a really versatile thing that he brings to the table. Really tough player. I'll admit, not the best athlete in terms of just a corner, but Noel Williams is really good against the run. Maybe not really good against the run. He wants to be good against the run. And I would say for cornerbacks in the NFL, there are guys that want to be good against the run, and then there are your Jack Joneses, Olays, Marcus Peters, Olays, where they're like, I'm making a business decision, and I don't want nothing to do with the running game. Noel Williams wants to be great, and you can tell that he wants to be great. Coming up, I love the cornerbacks that you could potentially get in round 5 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, again, if you go this far and you don't have a corner, I'll admit I'm getting a little bit worried, but I do think that there is some value in round 5, and I'll tell you who those players are here in just a moment. But a huge shout out to GameTime, the official ticketing sponsor of the Raiders Report. And if you're looking for last-minute tickets, if you're looking to go to an NBA game, an NHL game, maybe a future Raiders game, GameTime is the place for you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. I love the curated deals. This makes it easier to find the best price on great seats. The Super Deal. The Super Deal is really elite because you can get the best value out there. If you're somebody like me, when you walk into a store, the number one thing that I look for is I go to clearance rack. I'm not afraid to admit it because before I spend all of my money, I at least want to know if I can get a good deal. And that's how GameTime is structured. If you're planning on visiting a city where maybe you're planning on, visiting Las Vegas, you go to Las Vegas and there's a lot of stuff to do. You could check out different artists. Chugs was able to get tickets to Adele. You can see different events. And because Vegas is a city where there is just so much to do, the last thing that I want to do is get a ticket to something and then realize that I could actually be doing something else that's a little bit more in my price range or something that I would just rather do. If you're planning on going to Las Vegas this year, I definitely believe that you need to download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code ChatSports. Download the GameTime app today. And if you're wondering what time is it, it's game time. I promise you. That link's down in the comments. It's down in the description of today's show. Let's go to round 5, pick 143. Some of the corners that the Raiders could be looking at in this type of, area. The first name I'm going to bring up, I don't know if he's going to be available in round 5. However, though, I'm not taking him in round 4, and because he had a bad NFL combine, he could slide down a little bit, but because he had a bad combine doesn't mean that he's a bad player. Some guys just aren't built for the underwear Olympics that is the combine, and some guys, when you watch them on tape, they give you a lot of intangibles, and one of the intangibles that Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas, gives you is tough player who loves to show up against the run. And there's going to be games, there's going to be situations where we need a cornerback that we can count on in the run game. I also think that the athletic ability does limit him in man a little bit. If you're looking for somebody who can come in and play zone from time to time, Kobe Bryant is an interesting name to keep in mind. This young man here, Za Frazier, is one player that I really like, and I'm happy that the Raiders are having a top 30 visit with him. And one of the things Chugs and I were joking about before the show started, we were like, I wonder if Pete Carroll has a thing for UTSA corners. And earlier on the show, I talked about Tariq Woolen. Pete Carroll loved Tariq Woolen at a UTSA. And Za Frazier is not the athlete Reek was, but still kind of fits in that mold of tall, long, very fast, 15 pass breakups, 6 interceptions in 2024. Is a little bit older. He turns 25 in October, and he started for only one season at UTSA. If you believe in your coaching staff, and if you have a pedigree that can build corners, Za Frazier needs to be on your list. Let's go to another player that I've just started watching recently, and I got to tip my cap here to Tom Downey because Tom goes, I think actually Caleb Bransall is a player that Raider Nation would fall in love with because he already looks like an NFL defender in terms of how he's built and how he's just a little bit more like filled out. Very often some players coming out of college, you're like, he still needs to grow into his body. He needs to, turn into a young man. But he is a terrific big nickel. And for a team that wants to be able to use somebody in the nickel, in the slot, and when you see like a lot of the corners that the Raiders have right now, a lot of outside guys, you want to add a physical dude that can play up near the line. And for a team that values toughness, for a team that values versatility, you're going to like Caleb Bransall a lot. And also, my biggest knock on him is I do think he could struggle in man in the slot against some of these quicker, twitchy type of receivers. But imagine somebody that brings you that dog mentality like Amik Robertson. Not as athletic as Amik, but definitely more physically just stout than Robertson. Caleb Bransall in round 5, really solid value there. In round 6, we have 3 picks, 180, 213, 215. I'm not really going to go take much of a deep dive just because corner, you can see it from time to time and slide. Here are 4 corners that if the Raiders, you told me, took a corner in round 6, this is me just doing my best to take a guess on who that could be. Denzel Burke because of his ties with Ohio State. Quincy Riley from Louisville is going to be somebody I'll throw out there. Jalen Smith from USC. And then O'Donnell Fortune, the cornerback from South Carolina. Before I tell you who's round 7 players, because there is one player that I could see the Raiders targeting at corner in round 7 because of his coaching connection. We know how important coaching connections are. I do got to give a shout out though to Joey Mata, Dylan Erickson, Malachi Muhammad, and then I believe that's Alex, or I don't know, for being a part of the Noti Gang. You're subscribed. You got those notifications turned on, and I've been telling people I am going to start giving more and more love, more and more shout-outs to people that take time out of their day to let me know they're a part of the Noti Gang, because that is the biggest thank you that you could possibly give me and Chugs on this show. Let's go to round 7. Pick 222 of who the Raiders could look at. And at this point in the draft, I would look at special teams. I would look at coaching connections. And the name that I'm going to throw out there is going to be Jason Marshall Jr., cornerback from Florida. Because our defensive quality control coach, his name is B-Ra Rasul, coached him last year at Florida, that's the reason why he's on this list. He is a first-year coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, offers good size, has some experience, and is an athletic player. I'll tell you this right now. He is the definition of a project player because his awareness, it might be one of the lowest awarenesses that you could see in college football. Really, really struggles against play action. But the way that I would look at it, Jason Marshall Jr. is somebody like a Lonnie Johnson Jr., somebody where you know is a physical and probably just going to have special teams value. That's what Jason Marshall Jr. is. Though, if he can get his shit together and with our coaching staff, he does have some upside because he is a really good athlete, but probably just going to be a gunner and special teams guy. If you want to tune in with Jeremy Chugs and I for the NFL Draft, reminder, we will be live all 3 days, all 7 rounds. Last year, we were live for almost 21 hours, and we had close to 300,000 people tuned in. If you made it this far in the video, and you probably want to check out some other prospects that the Raiders could target in each round, this is a video which you can find down in the comments and the description of today's show. Wide receiver draft targets in each round. Also, running back draft targets in each round. I'm going to put out more videos the closer we get to the draft. We're going to talk about offensive linemen. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. I did corners today just because of the recency of the Raiders moving on from Jack Jones. And I just had so many people asking me, what are the Raiders going to do in the draft to help replace Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones and
Basketball
me.
Jones.
I got a basketball Jones. I got a basketball
Mr. Zahn.
Jones. If the Raiders draft only one corner, who should it be? One corner. You get only one corner.
Jason Marshall Jr.
If you told me
only one corner out of everybody that you talked about, I think
I have 2 names.
I would go with Trey Amos.
Okay, I like that. I was going to say
Travis Hunter. You didn't mention Travis Hunter.
He's not going to be there at 6. He's going number 2 to the Cleveland Browns based on the recent reports that we are hearing and that are being around the NFL. I would say Noel Williams is interesting to me in round 4 because of the value there. And then I would say Trey Amos or Benjamin Morrison in round 2. I like Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron more. It's just you have to take them in round 1.
If you could trade back with New Orleans, get an extra second and take Jahdae Barron at 9 or Will Johnson at 9, love it.
If you told me we could get a Will Johnson at 9 and then we're able to get a Carson Swessinger and an Xavier Watts or a Trevion Henderson, to me, trading back and getting another pick in the top 50 is
be huge.
It's so critical for a lot of the players that the Raiders have been looking at. Now, again, you could see players slide. It happens every year, but if I was the Raiders, I would do everything in my power to trade back.
Kind of the same sentiment at 37, right? If one of those quarterbacks is on the board and a team's willing to trade back and give you their second plus a third, and you can get a guy like Trey Amos a little bit later in the second round.
Sure. I have to go pee real quick. I've been chugging some water. Can you hold down the fort for 2 to 3 minutes?
Hell yeah, bro.
Hell yeah, bro. All right, I'll be right back.
Get you on the flip.
Get you on the flip.
I've not really liked running back in the first, but Raider Pug picked Jeanty on his puppy buttons 9 of 10 times. Funny, but I ain't kidding. Okay. Raider Pug. I think I need to Navman, send me those videos on Instagram if you could. I love dog football content. Got to get Sadie into more of it, though. Need more Sadie content. Jerry Watson, I'm very excited and hopeful for the season. I love our Raiders and our nation. Get Jeanty, please. Get Ashton Jeanty. That would be electric. Absolutely electric. Gruden changed my mind about Will Howard. Oh, my God. My buddy is a big Will Howard guy, and he sent me the clip of Gruden comparing Will Howard to Josh Allen. And, yeah, that's nuts. That's just nuts. Born a Raiders fan, I know I'm in the minority, but if Sanders drops, we should grab him. With Brady's connection, I don't think he passes on Sanders. Running back O-line and D-line class is deep. Yeah, and I mean, arguably offensive line. I know we talk about like Mimbu, Campbell at 6. I feel like that's more going best player rather than need, because I don't know if you absolutely need an offensive lineman that early. Maybe getting an interior guy in round 2, round 3. I think you're somewhat set up right now with who you have in Colton Miller. Sounds like they like DJ Glaze on the right side. So interior offensive line, maybe a Tate Ratledge in round 3. That could be a nice pick for the Raiders if they're looking to go O-line and just add more depth in that unit. Because I do think interior O-line is sneaky deep in this class.
Yeah, I actually think Ratledge is a very, very interesting player, because when you have somebody like Ratledge, who's very well respected, very hardworking guy, and you put him next to a JPJ, I mean, those guys are like the Bash brothers from the Mighty Ducks. Like they're just going to knuckle puck it. They're going to F shit up. I think there's a chance that Shedeur falls in the draft, but with Geno's extension, I wonder if we would pass on him if he's available at 6. Yeah, quite frankly, I would say that there is a 5% chance the Raiders draft Shedeur at 6.
And then we were just getting into also John Gruden compared Will Howard to Josh Allen. So a lot of people are back in on Will Howard, even though
what I find funny, and again, Gruden is entertaining, but I don't understand how anybody could take what that guy says from a draft perspective seriously, because imagine if we did what John Gruden did, right? Like, imagine if you drafted Cleveland Furl number 4 overall. If you drafted Jonathan Abram in the first round. If you drafted, Henry Ruggs over a CeeDee Lamb. If you drafted Damon Arnett. If you drafted Alex Leatherwood. Like, I can't even believe people take John Gruden, what he says, seriously. And I get it. He's a quarterback guy.
Well,
maybe he's just a QB guy.
I think,
but Gruden is just somebody right now who's just all hype.
He's just somebody who X's and O's, I would 1,000% listen to Gruden. He is.
Yes.
He is probably double football smart everybody here at Chat Sports.
Could not agree more.
Draft evaluation, I'll take Tom Downey over him.
I would take anybody over him. Like, and it's not a knock on Gruden. There are things that people can do, right? Like, I don't know if Chip Kelly can be a head coach, but I think he can call plays as an offensive coordinator.
Why for yes and for no? Did Mitch wash his hands? Brian Baca said, no way. You went way too fast to have washed your hands.
Yeah, of course I wash my hands. Though, there are some times where I'm like, if I just pee, I don't wash my hands.
Brian says no.
No way, Brian.
Gilbert says no. Navman said fastest pee ever.
I was hustling. It was a quick pee. There's also a big difference between a beer pee, which lasts minutes, compared to I've just drank water and coffee and an energy drink. Shout out to Panda to get me going. Very different peas. Come on. Very different peas. You want to smell my hands? It smells like pee. No, I'm just kidding. All right, y'all. So we got 650 people here in the building. We did just cross 400 likes, which means we're giving another entry away for a chance to win a Raiders draft hat. Gotta spam Raiders down below, whoever does it the most. We're going to put you in for a chance to win, again, courtesy of Josh I. I have one more segment to get into here on today's show, and it's going to be around the top 10 players I think are the most likely to be pick number 6 by Pete Carroll, by John Spytek.
Wow. By Bon Jovi.
Dude, imagine.
I literally had my friend messaged me, and he literally messaged me the clip of Gruden talking about Will Howard being like Josh Allen. And I just texted him exactly what you just said. I said Gruden also took Cleveland Ferrell at 6 and Ruggs before CD.
Honestly, Ruggs was probably one of his better picks. I mean, it was. Like, Ruggs would have been a good player if the shit that he didn't happen. But at the same time, he would not have been CeeDee Lamb. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, I actually find it funny sometimes. One of my favorite comments that just, people get that are just miserable with their life are, thank God that you're not calling the shots, Mitch. And what I honestly find funny is because I can actually say this. If you go back and you look at our videos, I think you'd actually be surprised how often and how much better we would be off as an organization if the Raiders would have just listened to these videos. And that's not necessarily a pat on my back. That's just how bad the Raiders operated in the draft for multiple years. You know what I mean? Like, I actually don't know if you could have done a worse. I actually don't know if John Gruden could have done a worse job from a talent evaluation perspective. Luckily, he found Max Crosby, or else I can't even believe people listen to his draft takes. What up, Frankie? I see you down there below. I see J.U.S. King Zay. What up, Blinky? Anthony Green. Green says, blame that on Mike Mayock. See, the only reason why you can't blame it on Mike Mayock is because John Gruden made the decisions. And what's really important about why the Raiders are doing what they're doing now, John Spytek, Pete Carroll, there's the 50% rule. And what do I mean by that? Mike Mayock had 49%. John Gruden had 51% control, which meant he always got to say what he wanted to do. Unless you're saying Mike Mayock for Crosby, because there were a lot of reports that Mayock picked some of the later round picks. Gruden always got round 1. And, well, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. Gruden was that bad. So, but you said blame, so I think the blame is usually like a negative word. Mitch and Chugs give us a wow. I didn't see that coming at number 6. Wow, I didn't see that coming at 6. I would say Tyler Warren, because you can make an argument that he is the best player on the board. I will also say, if you want to watch a video, Cameron, in regards to, wow, I don't see that coming at 6. I put out a video, it was probably 2 weeks ago, and I'll see if I can find it here real quick. It was in regards to some surprise draft candidates that the Raiders could take. And I said it because, Brock Bowers was surprising. Tyree Wilson was surprising. If you look up Raiders surprise picks at 6, you'll be able to find it on YouTube. I'm just trying to find the exact video. I just, unfortunately, make a lot of videos on this show, which I don't know if you guys know that or not. So actually, here you go. I found it. Cameron and anybody else, if you want to see some players that I said would be surprising candidates that the Raiders could pick, I just dropped that link for you guys down in the comments on today's live show. But what's also interesting about that video is I had Brock Bowers last year, where I said, Brock Bowers would surprise me at 13, but here's why it could happen. And ended up happening.
Sorry, I'm back.
You're back.
There was, I had to check this video, and there was a lot of mistakes.
Not good.
We're spelling Shedeur and Milrow wrong.
Yeah, not great. Not great, Bob.
Wow, I didn't see that coming at 6.
This is what we just talked about. I said I put the video down in the comments. I talked about the surprise draft candidates one. Cameron, go check it out. Let's go to the next super rolling in here on today's show, and it's from
Crash.
Gunny. What up, fam? I love Gino's commitment.
That's how he would spell it if he was like an Italian mobster.
This just reminds me. Is it the 40-year-old virgin where they're like, Gina, sup? He's like. It's like Gina, sup? I think it's 40-year-old virgin. Being the first in, last to leave, I'm looking forward to the draft. Semper Fi. I think the other thing that Gino said that I love is he's like, I want to be like Max Crosby. And, saying that you want to be like Max Crosby and then actually going out there and doing it, I do think are two totally different things. But I want a quarterback that has that mentality of being the first there and the last to leave. And, this is one thing that, again, like a Raiders player told me this a few years ago that, Carr would be the last one there and the first one to leave. And I get it. Maybe at that time he felt like that he could do that. But I don't want the face of my franchise to have that mentality, right? Like, I want the face of my franchise to be somebody that's trying to put in the utmost work, because then that helps everybody else go, well, if he's doing it, then I got to do it.
That's why me and Mitch show up 30 minutes before everybody else.
And I show up 30 minutes before Chugs. Let's go to Ivan. Oh, come on, dude. The last week, I don't know why, Chugs walks in. Even when he's early, he's like, sorry, I'm late. I don't know why. Ivan, Justin Jefferson was also in the same class as Ruggs. I don't miss Gruden drafting. I'm glad those days are over. And Jefferson there's always going to be an outlier, right? I mean, look at Brian Thomas Jr. last year. He was the fourth wide receiver taken. I do think sometimes it's fit, and then it's also just how talented a guy is. But the only reason why I say CeeDee Lamb is because I had, CeeDee Lamb ranked higher than Henry Ruggs. I'd have to actually go back and see if I had Justin Jefferson ranked higher than Ruggs. But I'm not going to knock somebody for doing something that I didn't want them to do. So I know for a fact I said CeeDee Lamb would be the pick that I would take at number 12. We were just actually looking at a video with that the other day, because when the Raiders drafted Arnett, we had a mental breakdown here, and we were just like, that's an F grade. And of course, when you have a take that's not a positive take, you get everybody being like, F you, F your mom, F this and that. And it's like, dude, it's just my opinion. It's okay.
Yeah.
What up, Gunny? Is there a duck race today? Technically 2 duck races, but it's for March Madness. We're going to do a March Madness 2 duck races today. We only do duck races now for live shows on Thursdays. And I do that just because I want to be able to get a bigger pot in on Thursdays. And if we did it every single live show, I don't think we would get as many people to do it. But Thursday, duck race, you already know it, man. You already know it. Let's go to U.S. Marine 1073. You're next up here on the Raiders Report. Crazy trade back that we didn't see coming.
Like, what would be a crazy trade back?
All right, let me see here. NFL draft order. I just got to pull it up in front of me.
I mean, I think a crazy trade back that we didn't see coming would be if the Titans move back with the Giants and let the Giants take Cam Ward. I wouldn't see that coming.
I mean, the trades that I would say are the most likely are 9 and 10, Saints and Chicago. I do still wonder if the Cowboys, I know they just went out and got Joe Milton, but we'll see. What about the Miami Dolphins? And the reason why I'll say the Miami Dolphins is because Tom Brady has a great relationship with Stephen Ross. And Stephen Ross and Brady, they go back from their Michigan ties, and maybe there is a behind-the-closed-door deal that's happening. I'll also say if you're the Miami Dolphins, Tua's good, but do you have confidence that Tua is going to be able to play every game this season? I would almost make the argument that if you were to ask me which starting quarterback in the NFL is the most likely to get injured this upcoming season, Tua's going to be in that conversation just because of all the concussions that he's had. So how about Miami at number 13? What if they tried to move up with the Raiders because of Stephen Ross, Tom Brady connection, and Miami goes up and gets their future quarterback because they don't know if they have somebody like that in Tua? There you go. There's my shocking answer. Atlanta, nah. Indy, nah. Arizona, nah. Bengals, I don't really see it. In Seattle, I don't really see it. Nah, what up, man? Lots of Devil Dogs in here. Love my U.S. Marine. Shout out to the family. A lot of Devil Dogs. Every time I hear that, though, I instantly think of the Tasty Cake. What up, James? Trade back to add a second for a team that wants Jeanty. Trade back again for a second and a third to a team that wants to put Shedeur and Hunter together. Raiders walk with 3 seconds and 2/3.
I feel like this is a lot easier said than done.
I was just going to say, this is like me being like, whatever you're trying to sell your car for, and just you're always going to get above asking price, where it's typically not the case. And I actually think that this is going to be, something where even myself, I have to accommodate for this of it's just this year's draft, they're not because it's a weaker draft, the picks and trades aren't worth what we usually see, right? Like you can't look at last year's draft and what trades were and look at this year's draft and be like, man, this team got this last year, and now we're only getting this year. It's two totally different things, right? It's like saying $10 now is worth $10 30 years ago.
Last year, the Commanders reportedly got offered a trade for 3 first-round picks for the number 2 pick. I can guarantee you no team in the NFL has even offered 2 first-round picks for the Browns pick at number 2.
Yeah, I could not agree with that more. I think for a team to offer the Browns 3 first-round picks, you're trading from like the 20s, maybe 30s.
Yes,
maybe not even. I'd say maybe not even. Maybe not even. No, seriously.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think it might have been the Raiders that wanted to trade those 3 first-round picks for Washington's number 2 overall pick.
Definitely some conversations. What could have been?
The Raiders brass will say, oh, no, we had no intention of trading up last year.
Come on, man. I'd want the Raiders to either draft Sanders at 6, take the best available at 6, or trade back for extra picks and draft a quarterback like Milroe or Will. I guess my problem with what you're saying here is, though, like, how can you want the Raiders to go best player available and then also throw out these names, right? Like, if you want the Raiders to go best player available, these are not the names that you should want. These are not even names that you should consider. I mean, Sanders, I don't even think is a top 32 prospect in this year's draft. But he's put up there because he's a quarterback. Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, again, interesting. But, like, Will Howard, to me, I'm not even considering until day 3. Milroe, for me, I would not have considered until probably day 3 as well. I mean, he's a great athlete. Maybe a team would have taken a chance on him, like for the Raiders at 68. But the idea that I want the Raiders to either take a quarterback like Sanders at 6 or go best available, I don't know how those align is what I'm saying. Right? Like, that's like you being like, I want my dream car, but I also want a Honda Civic. Maybe your dream car is a Honda Civic. I don't know. It's not my dream car. What up, King's Ass? See Frankie down there below. Lewis Paul. I got you. Sanders won't make it past Cleveland or the Giants. I'd bet you $1 million that he does. I would bet anybody in this show right now $1 million that Shedeur Sanders does not go in the first 2 picks. I mean, he ain't going to go to number 3 of the Giants either. $1 million. Does anybody want it? My Venmo is at Mitchell Renz 365. U.S. Marine Civic is a dream. All right. I got you. So, I mean, that's coming from me, right? My first 2 cars were a 99 Mercury. I think it was a Mercury Mystique. No air conditioning, leather seats, had a sunroof, though. And then I had a 2005 Pontiac Sunfire, bright red. That's probably why I don't like the color red now.
Dude, sunroofs are such a game changer.
The car had a huge oil leak, but it had a sunroof. I can remember my dad being like, it's like, this is a good car. Though I found it with my mom and my stepdad at the time. But when my dad loved that car. He was all about it. Had a sunroof. And again, I lived in central Pennsylvania, so no air conditioning wasn't the end of the world. But on hot summer days, dude, your back would stick. What?
I just saw something on X.
Oh. Your back would stick. All right, let's go to the final segment on today's show. And then we're going to get into the 2 March Madness races, which is going to tell us who's going to be competing for $1,600 on Thursday. What we're going to be doing next here is I'm going to be looking at the top 10 players that I believe the Raiders are the most likely to draft in round 1 at pick number 6, and I have them ranked from least to most likely, the number 1 players who I believe the Raiders end up taking. What? King's A? I thought we did give away a spot, but we did just cross 400, so you can give one to King's A. Frankie and King's A, I'm actually concerned how much they've been spamming Raiders. They're that cat emoji. Just over and over and over. Been popping off, King's A. Keep popping off, King's A. Keep popping off. All right, man, let's get into the final segment here on today's live show. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. If you are just tuning in for the first time, we go live every single Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you want to get your questions and comments on the show, use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. And today, every $5 Super Chat that we get on today's episode, you're going to be entered in to win a Raiders draft hat. It's like, What do you do? I'm an Uber driver.
Hey, Frankie, are those files almost done? Working on them right now! Very important business over here.
It makes me think of, what was that commercial where, like, the mom yells to, like, the ESPN guy? He's like, I'm working on my assignments. R.I.P. Yeah. That's what it made me think of. I'm working on my assignments. You guys get it. All right, let's go. You ready?
Gotta get some meatloaf.
Ma, I want the meatloaf. She'll get it. She'll get it. You ready? You ready? All right, let's talk about some players the Raiders could pick at number 6. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up, I have ranked the top 10 players that Pete Carroll and John Spytek are the most likely to select with the number 6 pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. Before I go through my top 10 players, this show is about the nation. This show is about interaction. And I want you to plant your flag. Who do you think the Raiders are the most likely to pick at number 6? Today's show is going to be ranked from the least to the most likely. So I'm confidently sitting up here going, the player that I have number 1, if I was a betting man, is the player that I could see the Raiders taking with that number 6 pick. Let's go to number 10 here on the list, and I'll be real, this would be a shocker to everybody. But the only reason why Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State, is on this list is because if you're somebody that wants the Raiders to go best player available, Tyler Warren could be the best player available. He's big, he's athletic, he's tough, competitive. Overall, he is an elite prospect. I would say everybody that I've talked to in the NFL community has Tyler Warren as a top 6 overall prospect. He also has some of that Max Crosby swagger on the field, which you love to see, and he does whatever you ask him to do. He'll block, he'll go out there and run. I also wonder, and this is why I could see the Raiders potentially taking him, again, best player available at number 6. Bowers and Warren would be the best tight end duo in the NFL, and the amount of reports that we've seen this offseason about the Raiders looking for an X receiver, what if the Raiders just said, you know what? We didn't draft Michael Mayer. He can still be tight end too. We're going to let Tyler Warren be our every down tight end, and then we're going to use Brock Bowers because he's an alien, and we're just going to line him up as an X receiver. If you're a team that wants to run the football and be physical like Pete Carroll teams like to do, it would be an interesting fit, I'm not going to lie, with Chip Kelly's system. But if Tyler Warren, if they told me, hey, we wanted to go best player available, and that was Tyler Warren, it'd be a weird pick, but I could see it end up going down. Let's go to number 9 here. It's going to be cornerback Jahdae Barron. Barron is a true Swiss Army knife, and he can do so many different things, which makes him really interesting for Patrick Graham, makes him very interesting for Pete Carroll because of all the different things that he can do. He can defend the run, he can defend the pass, he can go up and blitz if that's what you're looking for the Raiders. But because the Raiders like to run a 3-safety look, and because, you know, the silver and black don't really have that nickel guy right now, think of Jahdae Barron as you hit the upgrade button on somebody like a Nate Hobbs. The reason why this pick could end up happening, the Raiders end up meeting with him at the Combine, which is important. Carroll loves DBs, and Patrick Graham loves players with versatility, and that's what Barron's going to be able to bring to the table. Also, I went back and I watched some of the tape of that Ohio State game, and PFF actually has Barron ranked kind of low, but there's not a single Buckeyes wide receiver against Texas that had over 75 receiving yards. And, you know, they're going to go a bunch of different ways. Jeremiah Smith, I believe in that game, had only 1 catch. Trevion Henderson hit a home run. But in terms of the offense struggled for the Buckeyes in the playoffs, I would say they struggled the most against the Texas Longhorns, and Jahdae Barron did put on some good tape in that game. Let's go to number 8 here. It's going to be quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Yes, I have Sanders in this list. No, I would not take Sanders if he was available at pick number 6. But the reason why he's going to be here, and I do think that it is a bit of a surprise, but because the Raiders went out and they traded for Geno Smith, and because they want to win now, Shedeur could be a little bit of a surprising overall player. He is very accurate. He shows the ability to get better. And I know that some people are going to knock on Shedeur because he's cocky. I don't mind him being cocky. To me, he shows that he's mentally tough. And the number one thing that I would almost look for, honestly, in a quarterback that's going to go to the Raiders is, can he handle pressure? And Shedeur's been able to handle pressure. I will admit his comments about like Jackson State never having good players or Colorado like not being good until he got there kind of shows the naive side of him a little bit. But the reason why I think that this pick could happen, he is the number 2 quarterback behind Cam Ward. Tom Brady has been his mentor since 2020, and Deion Sanders has said in the past that he likes the idea of Shedeur playing in Las Vegas. And when I think about the skill set that Sanders has, it would not shock me that Deion wants Sanders to work with Tom Brady based on everything that they've already been doing, based on everything that they've already worked on together. Shedeur Sanders, though, is going to come in here at number 8. And I'm going to be honest. At the time I'm making this video, the next 7 players that I'm going to break down, I would say there is a massive, and I mean massive tier gap based on those 3 players that I just talked about. I don't think that those 3 players are going to happen. These next 7, if I was a betting man, is going to be where I would put my money on the Raiders pick at number 6. Before I get into those, though, if you plan on tuning into the NFL draft, why don't you just watch it here with the Raiders Report? You will get the picks before you see them on television. Sometimes we're 2-3 picks ahead of the time. On day 1, day 2, day 3, what you see is how many people watched us and how long we were live for. We had basically 300,000 people tuned in, almost 21 hours of live content. If you want NFL draft content and you're a Raiders fan, there's one place to go and one place only, and that's here, the Raiders Report. Let's go to number 7. It's going to be wide receiver Shedeur McMillan from Arizona, and I would say this is probably the number 1 wide receiver, though there are some teams that don't have McMillan ranked number 1 on their receiver board. He's tall, he's rangy, he can turn 50-50 balls into 80-20, which is something that I like. He can also win down the field. Reminds me of Drake London, Mike Evans, of just how fluid he moves in and out of his routes and his ability to just make plays down the field. His toughness and love for the game are being questioned right now by some NFL teams. I don't know if the Raiders are one of those teams that are questioning it, but the reason why this could happen at 6, McMillan met with the Raiders at the Combine. Also, McMillan said at the Combine that he has a great relationship with the Raiders and sounded very confident in that. The Raiders offensive line coach, Brennan Carroll, also coached him at Arizona for 2 seasons. One of the other things that I do like about McMillan is he probably could have entered the transfer portal, and he probably could have gone somewhere else. He is the only receiver in college football the past 2 seasons that had at least 1,300 receiving yards. And I will tip my cap to McMillan for staying at Arizona, and he even said, like, him and his teammates made almost like a pact that they were going to stick together. McMillan comes in here, though, at number 7. Let's go to number 6 on the board, and somebody that I would love for the Raiders to draft, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. Armin Membu, offensive tackle from Missouri. To me, this is a player that played right tackle the past 3 seasons. So if you wanted to draft him, you wouldn't have to kick Colton Miller over to the other side. Out of all the linemen in this year's draft, there's nobody that has higher upside to me. There's nobody that I think could be on this Raiders team more guaranteed for the next 10 years. Maybe then somebody like Membu. He loves to compete. He loves to embarrass people. And in terms of why Membu could end up being the pick here at number 6, Spytek didn't commit to DJ Glaze, and I know Spytek likes Glaze a lot more than I originally thought, but Spytek also hinted just in the past week that he could use one of his 9 picks on offensive linemen and said the quote, "You know I love offensive linemen." I know Spytek loves the trenches. Membu also, because of his height, his weight, and the time that he ran at the NFL Combine, it compares to Trent Williams. It compares to Tristan Wirfs, a guy that John Spytek drafted in round 1. Before we get into our top 5, today's show is presented by GameTime, the official ticketing sponsor of Chat Sports and of the Raiders Report. And if you're planning on going to an event, whether it is a baseball game, NFL game, NBA game, a hockey game, there is one place to get your tickets and one place only, and that is GameTime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's game time. I have used GameTime for the past few years, and I can't tell you how many times I've been able to save money on all the events that I go to. When I go to a new city, I don't like to overplan. Honestly, Alex is usually the planner, and if your wife or significant other person in your life, I don't know how else you want to describe it, is the planner, but sometimes you want to be able to put together something fun to do, and you can do it at the last moment. That's where GameTime helps me out. Just the other day, which for those that don't know, the 6th of every month, Alex and I have been trying to just do something small, minor. We're getting ready to get married, and we've been looking to do just some fun little things. The other day, her and I were looking at some tickets, and my buddy, he invited me to go to a Mavs game, and he didn't have an extra ticket for her, so I was able to bring her through GameTime, and I did it through the GameTime picks, which is always going to help you get the best deals available. And if you're somebody that always looks for the best deals available, that's what makes GameTime, I think, the top ticketing sponsor that we've had. And I love GameTime, and I think that you guys will too. Prices drop the sooner the event gets, and you're going to get that lowest price guarantee, which is something that, again, I don't think can be understated. You're also going to be able to get event cancellation protection, which I love. So if you are ready to get started, download the GameTime app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ChatSports. Download GameTime today. That link's down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's get into the top 5 players that I think that the Raiders could end up drafting. Coming in here at number 5 is going to be Jalen Walker, outside linebacker, edge prospect from Georgia. And Walker has been a name that has been slowly climbing up boards based on certain reports from people who are very well tied in through college football. He played outside linebacker in college, which I think is really important. Also is an edge prospect. A long frame, great burst, change of direction, speed. Also has some tape that he was able to show that he could cover some tight ends. I will say, because the Raiders have been looking for an outside linebacker and kind of like a Caleb Von Chasen, Divine Diablo, all-encompassing player in one that has Malcolm Kuntz's ability to get after the quarterback, much better ability, honestly, than Malcolm. Walker is a freak athlete. The reason why this pick could happen at number 6 is the Raiders held a top 30 visit and met with him at his pro day. Lance Zierlein, very well-connected guy in the NFL circles, and Bruce Feldman had the Raiders passing on Jeanty for Walker in a recent mock draft, a mock draft that was based on some of the things that they've been hearing. Also, Walker, his leadership is famous in the Georgia building. The Raiders want guys that are going to be building block players, and when you take somebody like Brock Bowers, and it was such a good fit, can you also find a Jalen Walker type of player on defense? Because if you're trying to build a culture, you need guys that love football, that have great leadership in your building, and when you draft somebody in round 1, you're instantly saying that guy needs to be a leader. This would be really bad news, though, for Tyree Wilson. Let's go to number 4, and it's going to be offensive lineman from LSU, Will Campbell, which there was a part of me where I thought about putting Jalen Walker ahead of Will Campbell, and I decided, you know what, we could almost just say either or, 4 or 5. The reason why I'm going to put Campbell up here is because I would say offensive line is a bigger need than edge outside linebacker. And I say that because Will Campbell, I don't know if a team's going to put him at tackle. I don't know if a team's going to put him maybe even at left guard, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of conversation about Kappa, Parham, right guard, Jordan Meredith at left guard. If you want to have your left side of your offensive line be Colton Miller, Will Campbell, JPJ, that is a great blindside protection for Geno Smith. And the reason why I have him up here, the Raiders held a top 30 visit with them. They met with them at the NFL Combine. And just like I said about Membu, the Raiders, Spytek, believe in winning in the trenches, and they love offensive linemen. Also, like I mentioned about Membu, Will Campbell at 6'6", 323. Him, Membu, Tristan Wirfs, Trent Williams are the only 4 offensive linemen in NFL Combine history to be over 315 pounds, to have a vertical jump of over 30 inches, and to run a 40 time under 5 seconds. Will Campbell's a hell of a player. I know he's got T-Rex arms, but you put him in at guard, and he's going to be a starter on this offensive line, and it's going to help us have a top 10 offensive line. Before we get into the top 3 prospects that I would say are the most likely that the Raiders pick at number 6, another shout out here to the Noti gang. Ithat, Doreen, Scott, Jeff Garcia. Thank you for turning on those notifications. Thank you for clicking all, and every time I drop a video, spam a Noti gang down below. I see you, I represent it, and I rock with y'all. Let's go to number 3 here. It's going to be defensive tackle Mason Graham. And if I would have made this show last month, I would not have had Mason Graham as high as what I have Mason Graham right now. But if you're looking for a defensive tackle, it's going to make other players around him better. That's what Graham's going to do. I love his first step, and I love his ability to see a play and just react to it quickly. He sheds blocks really well. I think he takes on double teams really well. There are some people that actually don't think Graham is the number 1 DT in this class. I personally don't know if Graham is the number 1 DT, but I think he's the number 1 fit for the Raiders, so that's why he's my number 1. What I love about Graham is he's got wrestling background, and you can see it on tape. Dude just absolutely mauls people inside. he does have a top 30 visit with the Raiders, met with them at the NFL Combine, and the fact that he met with the Raiders on April 8th, the same day that voluntary offseason workouts happen, that is extremely interesting to me. He's got Michigan ties, and one of the things that the Raiders did this offseason is they made sure that Max Crosby was happy. Gave him an extension, kept Rob Leonard, gave Patrick Graham a raise. On top of that, Adam Butler. Max wanted the defensive line to be stout. Mason Graham makes the Raiders' defensive line the best in the NFL, and if you're a team that values the trenches, which the Raiders do, Mason Graham is absolutely a player to keep in mind at 6. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be Will Johnson, cornerback at Michigan, and if you're somebody that likes smoke and fire, there is so much smoke right now around the Raiders looking at Will Johnson. I will admit, taking him at number 6 feels a little bit early to me, and if you told me the Raiders trade back in the first round, I'd almost say Will Johnson's the most likely pick that the Raiders would go with because he's big, he's long, he's an athletic corner. His biggest weakness to me is recovery speed, but he's just so good at being able to keep guys in front of him and recognizing the play, diagnosing the play. If you have a legit defensive line and Johnson's going to be out there, I do think that he's got some Patrick Surtain in him just because over the past 3 years, I think the most consistent, best corner in college football for a 3-year stretch is Will Flippin' Johnson, and I don't know if it's really all that close. The reason why that I could see this pick end up happening, top 30 visit, formal combine meeting, the very first team that Johnson is going to meet with after he works out on April 15th, he is meeting with April 14th, he has his pro day. April 15th is when he's going to be meeting with the Raiders, the very first team. The Michigan ties to Tom Brady, the Charles Woodson ties are in there. We know Pete Carroll loves and values cornerbacks, and I heard from a source at the NFL Combine that when the Raiders sat down and they talked to Mason Graham, they were asking Mason Graham questions about Will Johnson. That is just one of those little notes for me that I'm always just going to keep. I'm just going to have the cherry on top, and if you really wanted to get to know a player, why not go out and ask somebody who's been a teammate of his, who's won a national championship of his, and has been a leader on that team, on that defense with Michigan? Will Johnson is there. But coming in here at number 1, I would say the player most likely that is selected to the Raiders at pick number 6, Boise State running back, Ashton Jeanty. And if you look at what a running back should look like, and if you want to create a guy on Madden, kind of looks like Jeanty. He can do everything really flipping well. I think he can even catch the football a little bit better than what people give him credit for. He's a home run hitter that's also going to be able to bat 400 essentially. I don't know if Jeanty can bust. He might not be the great pick if you don't have a great offensive line, but I really do truly believe Ashton Jeanty is almost bust-proof because of how good of a running back he is. Now, the reason why I think that Jeanty at 6 could happen, top 30 visit, formal combine meeting, pro day visit, also meeting with the Raiders on April 8th, the day that they have voluntary offseason workouts. What's really interesting is John Spytek, the Raiders running back coach, Deland McCullough, they had dinner with the Boise State head coach after Jeanty's pro day. The only team that had dinner with Jeanty and the only team that actually took their GM and running back coach to the Boise State pro day was, in fact, the Las Vegas Raiders. So when you have all of that, on top of the fact that the running game coordinator is Brennan Carroll, Pete's son, who's going to be in charge of the running game, Ashton Jeanty just fits that. And I know that he still needs to get better in a few other areas, but I really do think that best player available could be Jeanty. There are some people that I've seen recently, like Lance Zierlein, the number 1 player on his big board, Ashton Jeanty. If you're going best player available, you're trying to fill a team need, I'm not going to get mad about it at all if Jeanty's the pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's roll through these one more time here. The top 10 picks most likely for the Raiders at number 6, Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. John A. Barron, cornerback from Texas. Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. Tedero McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona. Armin Membu, offensive tackle, Missouri. Jalen Walker, outside linebacker from Georgia. Will Campbell, offensive lineman from LSU. Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan. Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. And then running back, Boise State, Ashton frickin' Jeanty. If you want to take a screenshot of that, you want to post it on social media, I am at Mitchell Renz 365. And if there's any other names that you think I forgot, hey, if you made it this far in the video, I'm going to be looking, I'm going to be seeing. And if you're looking for more Raiders draft content, if you want to hang out with Jeremy Chuggs and I and thousands of Raiders fans when the Raiders take that pick at number 6, pull up, turn on those notifications, because I promise you this, nobody's going to have more fun than we do on draft night. All right, y'all. So let's get into the final few things that we got to discuss here. We got to do a Raiders draft hat raffle. So again, it's going to be your final opportunity to get in. $5 super chat for a chance to get a Raiders draft hat. Again, courtesy of Josh I. Okay.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Sounds good. Everyone say goodbye to Sam. Turn that TV off. So what we're going to do here to finish off today's live show is this. I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer all the remaining super chats. We are going to do 2 duck races to decide our final for the championship game. And then we got to do one more raffle to decide who's going home with the Raiders draft hat. Let's go to Rich Kelly. Raiders! Can't wait for the draft. Love you, nation. Great work, Mitch and Chugs. Rick, appreciate that, man. I can't wait for the draft either. I actually, at times, almost just wish we could just get to it. I like being able, for me, doing what I do, because I need the amount of time just to learn as many prospects as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, dude, if you told me right now I could wake up and it's draft night, let's just get football going. You know, like, today, the fact that offseason, like, stuff started happening for the Raiders kind of made me feel like a little bit like football was back. What up, Nab? Please give entries to our American heroes in the U.S. Marine, please. On me. Just let me know how much I owe you, Mitch. I will Venmo it. My shocker at 6 is Emawari, but I wouldn't hate it. He's a beast. I mean, Nick Emawari would be a huge shock to me. If you're talking about safeties, him and Malachi Starks, I think are 2 names to consider that if the Raiders like really traded back in round 1. I just don't see him going in the top 10. He is a freak athlete. Kind of reminds me of Cam Chancellor, a name that I've thrown out there multiple times. But if you want to just throw one in for the heroes,
He was asking to give one to USMC 2 of 2 Raider.
Okay.
So I gave him an entry.
All right, we'll give him an entry, and then I think Nav already had an entry, but I was going to say, is anybody else, like, don't be a lame-o and be like, yeah, I served. If you served in the military, just let me know real quick down below. Give me a me. We'll give a spot away. But if you lie about this, I mean this, you're a shitty person and you're going to hell. Don't be a shitty person. Let's go to Blink. Put me in, coach. I got you. USMC, you're in for one of them. And then Jason Nunez. How about that? Zahn. McDaniels, I'm sorry. I can't put you in unless you change your name. And we're giving away a hat, not a visor, so I don't think that you would want it. I don't think you would want it. No cap, I served. Change your name. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, thank you. But we gave an extra one away. Semper Fi to Crash Dog. Does Call of Duty count from Robert? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, it does not. Let's go to Born a Raiders fan. Why don't you like Sanders at 6? I don't like Sanders at 6 because I feel like it's a wasted pick for 2 to 3 years. Like Geno Smith's going to be the Raiders quarterback for 2 to 3 years. So by that time, then you take Shedeur in the first round, and then it's going to be, his 4th year that he's going to be starting then? You get only 1 year to really prove it. I just also, with that being said, there's going to be drama that comes along with that. Because I think that Shedeur is on board for sitting for 1 year and learning. For anything more than that, though, I think that it would become an issue. I know the numbers that you're giving me, and I see the numbers, but Shedeur's not I actually don't think Shedeur's a round 1 quarterback prospect because this quarterback class is so weak. He's somebody that's being thrown in there, and again, I've seen Shedeur do a lot of good stuff, and I like Shedeur Sanders. Comparing him to other players that you could take at 6.
Also, I'll say this. When we have
Geno, I don't get it.
I'll say this. You just traded for Geno. Pete Carroll's first year.
Yep.
3-year contract. And my guess is he wants to hit the ground running. He wants to start winning his first year. He's not a spry young chicken. Yep. He wants to come to Las Vegas and win. If you're telling me at pick 6 I can take either a backup or a impact player for this year, I think, call me silly. I think Pete Carroll would want an impact player this year rather than a backup.
Agreed. Right, and if you would have told me that Aiden O'Connell was the Raiders quarterback going into the draft this year, I would have said Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I talk so much about Shedeur because, we didn't have a quarterback. And think about how much I talked about a quarterback in, November, December. Hell, we started talking about QBs in October. I am so confident in Geno Smith. And again, maybe people just who want Shedeur aren't as confident in Geno, but I'm confident in Geno to be this team's quarterback for at least 2 to 3 years. And I don't see how Shedeur could possibly be better. I really don't. All right, we got a few more. I want to get to a few more of those super chats. And then we will get into our final 4 races, which Philip Bogert up against Ivan Perez. Philip, are you here? Ivan, are you here? David Rubio, Nabman, I know you're here. Rubio, are you here? Let me know. JR, what up, man? You in? Joined you guys last year for the draft. A lot of fun and a lot of beers. I mean, we're definitely not ever afraid to have a good time. And we usually get into more of the craziness of the beer drinking. On Saturday, day 3 of the NFL draft, I will have, we get pretty wild on day 1, but I try to just stay so focused on day 1 and on day 2. We don't get into too many of the shenanigans that sometimes happen on this show, but, at the same time, if somebody does some wild and crazy shit, there's going to be some beers that are had. I'm not afraid to ever have a good time, and if you're somebody that has that mentality where I can work harder than almost anybody watching this show, but I also can have fun. And I think that's the balance in life where if you're going to party and you're going to have a good time, you also got to be able to get your shit done. Born a Raiders fan, look how Saquon's career panned out. You can be amazing, but if the team isn't ready to win, now it's a waste of a pick. I hear you, dude. I do. And I've made this argument before of why I don't know if I would want the Raiders to draft Jeanty if you're not sold on your offensive line. Based on some of the conversations that I have had over the past few weeks, the Raiders are a lot more confident in their O-line than what I initially thought. So because of that, I think that they're hoping that DJ Glaze takes a step forward. I think they're hoping that, their guard play is going to be able to take a step forward. JPJ takes a step forward. I don't disagree where if the Raiders had a bottom, 10 offensive line, I would sit up here and go, Jeanty, no chance. I actually just don't. I think the Raiders have a very average offensive line that has a chance to be better because I don't think it's a bad O-line, and maybe this is the better way to – they're just inexperienced, and inexperience scares the hell out of us. But Jeanty's a hell of a prospect. There are so many picks the Raiders could do on day 1 at pick 6 that I'm not going to be mad at, and Jeanty's going to be one of those picks if it happens. Curtis, can you do top 10 for round 2 and mock drafts for top 3? What's funny is I've already done it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've already done the top guys in round 2.
Yep. I'm not kidding when I say this. If you guys ever have a thought, go on YouTube and ask, in the search bar, look it up, because I bet you I've made a video around it.
The second part of this, though, is an interesting one. Maybe do a video of 3 mock drafts, and we just show them all of if they go this guy at 6, this guy at 6, and this guy at 6.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So,
and then compare them at the end.
3 separate mock drafts based on who they pick at 6. So this would be the mock draft if they take Jeanty. This would be the mock draft if they take Mimbu. This would be the mock draft if they take Will Johnson.
I think it's interesting. I would try that out. I've never really done that before. It'd be a little bit of a learning curve for me.
Take Shedeur.
We could look at it. It would be. I would say as an audience, we'd have to figure out who we think the top 3 most likely candidates for the Raiders would be, and then we would go from there. But if you want to check out, I do already have a video out. Just look up Raiders round 2 draft targets. You'll see it. I promise you. Let's go to Nabman. Jeremy Cole and Jonathan Smith. Give entries, please. Confirmed. So Cole, I think, already had one.
Slingshot engaged.
Jonathan Smith.
Oh, well, every 5 I've been
given. Every 5? Okay, cool. So, Nab, shout out to you, man. McDaniels, let me cook in the draft. Big trust. Literally, your face that you're making is my thought to what you just said there. Yeah. I'm good, bro. I'm good. Here we go. Ivan Perez up against Philip Bogert. Winner advances to our Raiders Report March Madness finale, which we are going to do on Thursday. At the end of the show, one of you is going to have a chance to win $1,600 on Thursday.
One of yous
is going to have a chance.
Is Philip or Ivan in the building?
I was going to say, I'm hoping that Ivan is usually someone that just hangs out in the background, which is all good, Ivan. It's all good. What do we go? Anthony said, I hope it's a tie. I don't think that's actually possible. I don't think that this can even happen. Brian said Ivan is here. All right, Brian. Is Phillip here?
I speak for the trees.
Ivan Perez is here. I don't know if Phillip Bogert's here. Well, without further ado, 3, 2, 1, run it. Winner is going to go to the championship game. It's the Final Four. Ivan Perez right now with a little bit of a lead, but I'm telling you what, this is anybody's race.
Oh, Phillip has a little bit of a lead now.
Oh, man, starting to fall back here a little bit. Both teams are saving it up for that final push. Somebody's got to go. Ivan Perez has got a little bit of a lead. Phillip Bogert, is he going to have enough? Ivan with the win. What an unbelievable race, Ivan Perez. Bro, you got a 50% chance to win $1,600. Ivan, how do you feel?
Anything is possible.
It feel real good. Ivan Perez says, that's wild. Congratulations to Ivan. Dude, Thursday. Ivan, you're going to be here, right? Unless, like, he's like, bro, I got a doctor's appointment all day. I can't make it. Or, like, my daughter's birthday. Ivan, will you be here on Thursday? I need that to be a yes. I need it to be a yes. Rebel said that was like the Duke game. Ivan said, I hope so. I hope so too. Because if you lose, it may be because you're not here. Ivan Perez advances. Ron said Serenity will be a Raiderette again this year, but they said it'll be much bigger. She'll be contracted, dude, and doing Aces games, photo shoots, and will go until mid-January. That's freaking awesome, Ron. That's freaking awesome, dude. Right. Ivan, we'll go live on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it'll be near the end of that show. So I would say probably sometime around right now on Thursday.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
David Rubio up against 93 Navman. I'm telling you this right now. Zahn won it last year, which was the most incredible thing ever because he's never won a duck race, and he won 7 in a row. I would be really happy for Navman. Also, I know Rubio is somebody that has watched this show for a long time. This is going to be fun. Not going to lie. I'm going to be rooting for Navman. Rubio, don't take it personally. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, run it. Rubio, Navman, neck and neck winner will be taking on Ivan Perez for a chance to win $1,600. Zahn said, I'm rooting for 93.
Oh, 93 has a little bit of a lead.
He does have, honestly, this is just like the last race we just saw. Both have a dog in this fight. Both are going to come down to the wire. 10 seconds to go. It's the fourth quarter. Navman, Rubio, somebody's got to make a move. It's going to be Rubio. It's going to be Rubio.
Wow.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. A huge upset. Nav, bro. I'm sorry, my man. It was a hell of a run. It was a hell of a run. Congratulations, though, to David Rubio and Ivan Perez. One of you two are going to have a chance. Rebel, just like the Auburn game. One of you will have a chance to win $1,600, man. Rubio, Rubio, Rubio. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. The Natty, the 13 seed, Ivan Perez, up against the 7 seed, David Rubio. I'm going to have to message Rubio, man. I'm gonna have to I guess that Farmer's Dog subscription was a bad idea. Ollie food is actually what I love. Unbelievable, man.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I got to message Rubio. I got to tell him. I know he watches from time to time. Here, let me see if I can get him.
While you're doing that, I do have a couple more super chats to roll through before we finally announce our winner for the Raiders draft hat of today. Ooh. Gilbert Moreno. Mitch, who are you drafting at 1 and why?
Armin Membu is the guy that I'm going to draft because I can put him at right tackle, and I know it's not a sexy pick, but I believe it literally gives the Raiders a top 10 offensive line, and just like the Colt Miller pick wasn't all that sexy, Membu is the player that I like, and that's the route that I'd go. However, who? If you're saying at 1, Cam Ward. I thought you meant round 1 for the Raiders. I mean, if it's up to me, I trade back. I'm team trade back because I can make an argument of why I like Jeanty, why I like Will Johnson, why I like Jahdae Barron, Armin Membu, Will Campbell, all those players. I could sit up here and say why I like those guys.
Shout out. We got a new first-time super chatter right here.
Blacktimus Prime. Nick Nash would be a great late-round target. I agree with you, actually. One of the players that Nash was actually featured in that video that I did of wide receiver targets for the Raiders in each round. I want to say that I had him in round 4 or round 5. He was somewhere in there, but I agree with you. I think he's the way I would compare him to some Raiders fans out there that don't know who Nick Nash is, he's a better version. Click the upgrade button on a Keelan Doss. That's how I would look at him.
He's Steve Nash's brother.
I don't know if you're serious.
No.
I'll say they look nothing alike.
LA Crash Dog.
We
may not have the O-line for Jeanty now, but could be better next year or 2 years from now, and we still have him, so it will pay off now or later.
All right, I just messaged Rubio. I said, dude, you're in the final. You better pull up.
Cameron Sproul.
Also, this is actually really important for only Ivan Perez and David Rubio. The money that you will receive won't come from me. It's going to come from my boss at Chat Sports. So when we give out the money, it might not happen right away on Thursday. I know it's typically something we don't like to do, but it's going to be from my boss. He sends it to you guys, and it's just an accounting thing. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time.
But yeah, good point there, Crash Dog, of even if you do take Jeanty and your O-line's not ready this year, I mean, you still have him on a rookie deal. So 4 more years of Jeanty.
Yep. What up, Sproul? Trade Tyree for a 5th rounder. I don't really want to do that.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I like Tyree Wilson, and I know he's been working really, really hard. I think as a rookie, he got put into a really unfortunate situation. He still has, I think, truly lived up to his hype, obviously. But I think this year is a got-to-prove-it year for Tyree. And if he doesn't prove it this year, then I would say if he hasn't proved it by the NFL trade deadline, he's going to be one of the top candidates that the Raiders are going to try to trade away. What up, Suave? That man goes to show how important every inch is. Every inch counts, dude. Every inch counts. Suave, you in. One more coming in here from Rebel. Prize Picks, more or less 8 Marsh meltdowns. Tonight, I'll tell you this. If y'all go rally and you help Celtics beat Knicks, he's going to have a meltdown. Which I'm going to tell you all this right now. I'm going to pull up on that Celtics stream tonight with Allie.
Type me if you're down to hang out with Chat Sports tonight for Celtics Knicks.
I kind of just want to see the meltdown from Marsh.
I do know that there's going to be some, non-basketball fans in here, which is fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep. I'll tell you right now, man. Oh, man. I'll tell you this right now. We're going to have some fun tonight on that Celtics stream. I don't know what's going to happen on Knicks. We're going to have some fun. Jonathan Smith said, I'll check in. We're gonna put some beers down over on Celtics. Whether you bang or whether somebody throws up an alley-oop and finishes one off, every time that happens, from the moment Allie starts that stream on Celtics, for the first 30 minutes, I'm going to be like, I don't know if I'll be there from the start, but I will. If I owe like 6 or 7, if I owe 1 or 2, you'll see me. I promise. I promise. I promise. I promise. We do still have over 500 people here. If we get to 500 likes, that's always like a nice little tip of the cap where when we send those numbers to our boss, it's kind of, like you guys absolutely crushed the show today. We're just waiting now. Chugs is going to get all the names in for the Raiders draft hat. Reminder, it was everybody that sent in a $5 super chat today. And I mean everybody that sent in a $5 super chat today. You're going to be entered to win. And also, huge shout out to 93 Nabman for giving away some extra entries. Also, Nab, thanks for pulling up on our Chat Sports live stream for the March Madness games. It was the Final Four games. I saw you were there with Rolly and Justin. Those are type of things where I know you guys maybe only know me as Mitch from the Raiders Report, but my other job is I'm kind of in charge of a lot of other people here at Chat Sports, and I always check in on live shows. So when I see people from the Raiders Report showing love to a lot of the other shows that we do, I think that is the definition of a real one, and it's why some people's names around the office are talked about as often as what they are, because you don't only show love to me, but you're showing love to my family, my friends here at Chat Sports, which means the end of the world, means everything to me.
Means the end of the world.
Well, I saw something down below. I know. I'll be watching just for the Marshall rants in absolute meltdown. Zahn said, "Blah, ha ha, ha ha." All right, we're going to do this wheel, and you're going to see a bunch of different names on there. Whoever this lands on, I need you to message me the Raiders draft hat that you want. Blaine, Chug sent me the picture that the draft hat you won on Thursday, so I got that all covered. The only thing I'll ask is if you could just tell me, do you want it to be a snapback? Do you want it to be the black cap, the gray cap, the cream-colored cap? Blinky! What up, Blink? What up, Blink? Blinky.
Are you in? Blinky, can you hear me?
Blink, I think I already have some of your info through Venmo. If I don't, though, if you could on Venmo, just send me your first, last name, because I don't think your first and last name is Blinky. And just send me shipping address, all that info. That would be huge. That would be huge. Yee from Blink. King Zay said, spin it again.
Chugs, can you please put in the basketball channel link? Yes, I got you. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if they've scheduled their live.
I was going to say, I don't know if they're scheduled yet. You could just look up Celtics Chat Sports, and you'll be good there. King Zay said, spin it again. Sorry, King. We got to stick to the rules, man. We got to stick to the rules.
Hold on. Let me look up the Celtics channel so I can just...
If Celtics beats Knicks tonight in a Super Chat battle, I'll give away 2 draft hats on Thursday. What do you think? Fair? It has nothing to do with us. We're just going to see how it pans out. I'll give away 2. Gilbert Moreno. Pop said F Boston. Blinky, yeah, I got a jersey for Christmas. All right, cool. Which means I should have all of it then. If you still, though, Blinky, if you still want to send me a message on our most recent Venmo, first, last name, it just helps me when I go through and I do a bunch of the orders.
So that should just take you to our Celtics channel.
Yeah, Taino, I've ordered everything that I saw your text message. The truth of the matter is the person who handled our shipping is no longer here. So we've been kind of backed up on some stuff. I swear to you, though, if you've won anything on this channel the past 2 or 3 months and you haven't gotten it yet, you will get it.
Yeah, oh,
it's just we're backed up, dude.
Blinky said, I've mentioned it a couple times, but he sent me the information, not on Venmo, because Blinky's in the UK. They don't have Venmo.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough.
They only have Venmo.
You ready? All right, y'all. Seriously, appreciate everyone tuning in to today's show.
One more super that we got to read from G. Wareb.
G. Wareb, Raiders will continue to be mediocre because they only draft AOC-type quarterbacks like Howard, McCord, Ewers, will be gone. Boring organization. But yet they went out and they signed Geno Smith, who's got top 10 potential. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate when people ask questions, but here's the other thing. Will Howard is not an AOC type of quarterback. Kyle McCord, not an AOC type of quarterback. Quinn Ewers, not an AOC type of quarterback. And AOC's more accurate than all those names that I just mentioned, but he doesn't have the arm talent that any of those guys have. When I think of Jalen Milroe,
the first person I think of is Aiden O'Connell.
McDaniels, who was your dream team of coaches this offseason? I mean, I wanted Ben Johnson, but if you would have told me Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, and we keep Patrick Graham, and we get Greg Olson as a quarterbacks coach, I think that would have been really hard to beat. Like I literally think Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham, you keeping those threes or Ben Johnson, I can almost make the argument that I would have rather kept those three.
All right, it is scheduled. That's the link to our Celtics live show up against the Knicks. We're going to hop off here, and they're actually going to come in this studio. This studio right here that we're filming in.
Yep.
So make sure, click in that, leave it open on a separate browser, get ready, because Rebel Montana, it's time to make Marshall Green cry.
All right, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. I'll see you guys next time, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Ivan Perez, David Rubio. Y'all have a chance to win $1,600.